We, I'm currently involved in a sale right now um, that has stretched from April and will probably go till first part of November before it's sold. And there's so many different dimensions of it. I mean, there's business property, that's personal property, there's real property, and you have to value that properly, and those are negotiable things. You have a bulk sales transfer that has to take place with the personal property. Um, so when you're looking at selling a business, you got to just analyze it. So come back to your question about what I want to do to sell a business. Well, two things that I always talk to people, because most business people want to minimize their income tax the best that they can.
Of course.
And to minimize income tax, you have to minimize your income. And you do things to do that. However, if you minimize it so greatly that you don't have a lot of profit, but you know there's some cash flow in it, you're not going to find a banker who's going to lend to you. They want to see your tax return and be able to take assurance that what you claim your business is doing is indeed what it's doing. And so the conflict is, I might be able to minimize my taxes, but I'm going to minimize the value of my business by doing that.
Wow. I mean, that's so much information, and with that, it brings your years of experience. So what would you say, how many years of experience have you put into this?
Well, I was a CPA, I've done audits, and I've helped people acquire businesses as a CPA.
Sure.
So I had some experience in it from there, but not from totally the marketing standpoint. So 30 years.
That's great. So when you broker, are you representing both, or do you sometimes have one who's just like in another sales transaction with homes, you sometimes will have somebody representing the buyer and the seller, or do you typically do both?
Well, here's when you start dealing with a representative for a buyer, and I'm representing the seller, you got to find out the experience of the real estate agent involved in business.
Sure.
Because it's complex. It's not just like selling the house. Selling a house has lots of dimensions to it, but selling a business has even more. And what has been my experience and the experience of the firm that I'm with is that people who have not had business brokerage background are more of a liability in the sale than they are an asset.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And so our best thing is to give them a referral fee and help to where we can represent both sides on it.
Absolutely.
To bring people together. And California law has requirements for when you represent both sides.
Sure.
I can't disclose certain things to the buyer about the seller, and I can't disclose certain things to the seller.
You're
about
kind
the
of like the middle of the Oreo, or the knot in the middle
Not
of the
in
rope.
There you go. There you go. You got it.
So, one of the things is, like, people are always interested in being able to, like, reach out and contact. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Give me a call.
And what can you give the viewers the number, please?
559-859-5759.
And
And I also have an email if you want to do that.
sure, absolutely.
And that is rholtandco@gmail.com. So it's rholtandco@gmail.com.
Okay, so basically,
I also need to throw into this
Yes.
that I'm also the business broker for a large I'm the broker of record for a franchise of a large international brokerage company.
right.
Okay, so Transworld is the brokerage company. I'm the broker of record for Hearthstone, and we represent and have the territory from Sacramento to Bakersfield.
Okay.
So that's who I primarily represent. So if you want to find me on on Transworld, you can.
Okay, well that's good to know. I think that's important for the viewers to know. Are there any other tips that you would like to leave the viewers with before we part?
Selling your business is like painting the house. Okay? You don't just go out and put paint on it. Okay? You gotta clean it up. You gotta make sure that all the wood is good solid wood and there's no dry rot and there's no problems or whatever. You've got to take time to prepare for the sale. Or for the paint. I mean,
Yes.
you got to take time to prepare for the paint. That's what you're doing in selling a business. You need strong financial statements.
Sure.
If you want top dollar for your business, you got to be able to demonstrate in an integrity way that the value of the business exists, and that starts with strong financial statements. And your tax returns need to be able to tie back to the financial statements. So that's an integral part. Another part is having strong staff. People want to come in and they want to buy. I mean, there are many buyers. There's types of buyers. There's some that come in and they want to build a business and they want to manage it, but they don't want to operate it. And so many times they're looking for operators that they can manage. So that's one type of buyer. Then there's the other type of buyer that says, I want to be on my own and I want to do my own thing, and they want to operate their business. So you got to figure out where you want to be in that process, but strong financial statements is good. Having a strong employee staff is good. Having good systems that exist is good. So those are the things that add value to your business.
Well, I thank you so much for coming onto the show. I could tell you I have received an education today, one that I had no idea. I mean, I understand buying and selling homes, but business, that's a completely different dynamic, and it's really important for the viewers who do have a business, who are thinking about selling or possibly potentially buying a business, to be educated. And Rod, you do a great job in doing it. I thank you so much for coming onto the show. This is Hope Roski with Business, Arts, and Events.
Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world. Are you ready to pick your next read or put another book in your stack? Check this one out, Precipice. It's amazing. I thought it might be nonfiction, but our guest assures us it's science fiction about what the world's going to turn into, advanced artificial intelligence. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you about it because we have the author here. If I can find him, there he is. Welcome, Scott Bollins. Professor Bollins, maybe I should say. You're a novelist, but also a conflict scholar. So you've written several nonfiction books as well. Is that right?
That's correct, Mike. Good being with you today, especially on publication day for Precipice.
I know. It's the day. It's coming out today. I think people could have ordered it a few days ago. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
So pre-sales. Tell us about Precipice.
Precipice is, think about the social media world that you're in today, listeners out there. Most of what you experience is curated, which means it's designed for you and you only, based on your past preferences and so forth. And it's based on algorithms, which is a formula that tells the computer what to send to you. So I took it further. This is a near future science fiction. It takes place in 2032, so 8 years from now. And it talks about when algorithms basically take over all of our lives. When algorithms triumph is the subtitle. And it takes it over a 20-year journey of how our human thinking, our consciousness, and our human behavior changes without us even knowing it, based on this so-called algorithmic input.
Yeah, when I was in high school in the 70s, I heard the term algorithm, of course, in our math classes, I guess you call them. Then it's been absent from my life until maybe this year when I stumbled upon TikTok. And I said, how does TikTok know what I want to look at? Because I'm not looking for dancing girls or something. I'm looking for history and news and historical facts and, of course, Game of Thrones trivia. And it's popping up all the time. I'm thinking, how does it know? But that's algorithms, I guess.
It is, the computers are incredibly smart. They're smarter than we are in terms of what we want, which is a scary thought. Politically, we get into situations where each of the two sides that are so much against each other politically these days, they live in their own what we call echo chambers, which means each side only receives what reaffirms their belief already. And that's a theme I took in this science fiction near future, where if everyone's just receiving information that reinforces what they want, everybody's going to become very self-righteous and sure of themselves.
Yeah.
And the book takes it in a pretty dark direction from there, because the computer, if you will, supercomputer, learns that what really motivates people the most is grievance and hatred. And it starts to put this into people's minds, and things go bad.
Yeah, amazing. Now, artificial intelligence, to us people who aren't involved in the study of it, it's kind of a new concept to a lot of us, and we've seen it change so quickly. Now, your book is what, 8 years into the future?
It's 8 years in the future, so it's not that far off.
Yeah,
and what changes in the book is a huge networked supercomputer is developed. So think of every bit of computer existence today. It all becomes networked into a massive supercomputer, which in the book is called interconnect.
Interconnect.
So so it's a massive source of knowledge. And if you think that computers and algorithms are determining your life a lot right now, just wait in what I forecast 8 years from now.
Now, what the protagonist, does he work for the company? What's his role?
The protagonist is a man named Jared Rhodey, who is a disillusioned academic. And he becomes disillusioned because he sees very gradually at first, but then very suddenly, students using artificial intelligence in papers, in everything. And he sees in the classrooms early on in Precipice that students have this incredible sense that they are correct about things that the protagonist, Jared Rhodey, has no idea what they're talking about. This is fabrication by interconnect computer, but the students are grabbing onto it as if it's absolute truth.
Yeah.
And it's a story of him. This is actually the first book of a trilogy. The trilogy is already written. Listeners out there, if you're not familiar with the trilogy, you can get Precipice because it is the prequel. It is the start of when AI, or this supercomputer, starts to take over human consciousness.
Amazing. Now, I think I hear you saying that people who develop a knowledge or an idea or a thought, say one person thinks big government's better, another thinks small government's better, they're going to get the algorithms that help convince them even more that their point is the correct point.
Exactly. That's what we call echo chambers. It reinforces your own ideas, and it demolishes the other side's opinions. I mean, that's the other side of it. So, everybody's right. What happens when everybody feels they're right?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Now, by the way,
Yes.
you are a professor, or you were a professor. Did you see AI used in the classroom?
Yeah, I was a professor for 36 years. I just retired in July, so I'm a free man now, writing novels like this. It is the start of AI in classrooms over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
AI, as many listeners know, it's in everything now. Any software you use, AI is there, usually in the form of Chat GPT.
Yeah.
And academia, we're just starting to confront how to deal with AI. If students are going to start turning in AI papers, how do we evaluate that? How do we know it's AI? Right. So we're on the start of a very steep learning curve in academia.
Yeah. When I was last teaching, we had a program. We'd run the students' papers through, and it would tell us how much of it they stole and how much was original. But I don't know how it'll be dealt with in the future.
Exactly. We have a program now that checks for AI content,
Nice.
and it'll give us an estimate of what percentage of the paper might be AI.
Yeah.
So those tools are developing.
Yeah, and just a few years ago, Wikipedia was kind of the battleground, students using Wikipedia. But now, yeah, what a difference. Now, your book is 8 years in the future, am I right? Or something like that?
8 years in the
Yeah.
future, 2032, things start to get kind of sketchy in terms of the intrusion of AI.
My thought is in 8 years, people reading your book, will they be saying, man, this guy really foresaw what things are turning into? Or will they say, man, he's so far behind, he didn't even come close to predicting the present time?
Oh, gosh, Mike, I hope it's not the first answer that, boy, he was so predictive of what happened, because I really paint an exaggerated, in a way, negative portrayal.
Yeah.
I see the fiction maybe more as a warning, hopefully, for readers, rather than a predictor. I hope it's not a predictor, because I take it far afield, and it's a trilogy. So this is 3 books.
Yeah.
It takes place over a 20-year period, all the way up to the mid-2050s.
It sounds like it's a cautionary tale, and it could start giving us the questions to start asking or to be watching for.
Exactly. I would say it's a cautionary tale. And, the academic is still in me. So although this is written as a fiction, lots of dialogue, lots of character development and setting and so forth. Some big questions are asked by the characters in here about human consciousness and what characters in this book call organic thinking rather than curated thinking.
Curated thinking.
Yeah.
Amazing. You have my mind spinning so fast, and I'm thinking of so many things. I think this is the kind of book, I used to read nonfiction, but I think this is the kind of thing I'm going to read next.
I'm glad to hear that, Mike. Yeah. It's, as an academic, I love now writing fiction, and this is the 3rd book of 3.
Yeah.
And I love how fiction is creative, and it can ask the big questions, especially near future science fiction. It can ask these big questions that people have a hard time asking these days, or political entities have a hard time addressing these big questions. In fiction, you can let it loose, and I love that creative aspect of fiction.
Usually one of my questions is who should read this book? Who's gonna read this book? But it sounds like it's the kind of book everybody should read.
I think so. Well, I hope so. I mean, anybody that's influenced by social media or AI today, which is probably about 95% of your listeners, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're experiencing this social media driven world, and you're wondering, is this really reality, or is this created reality? Is this curated reality that's coming into your view?
Yeah, back to TikTok, I've learned to kind of pick out what's real and what's not real, just by whether it's an animated voice or an artificial voice, or it's a guy telling us the facts and the breaking news wearing a T-shirt or a suit. There's ways to tell, but it's going to be harder and harder whether we'll be even able to tell if they're real people talking to us. Yeah,
it's going to become harder and harder.
Yeah.
There's AI developed images and so forth, photo manipulation.
Wow.
So it's going to be all over the place, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I always considered myself a master photo guy on Photoshop, where I could make anything look real. But now AI is going to way outdo me. So
right.
So this book is out today. Is that right?
This book is out today. Precipice: When Algorithms Triumph.
I bet if you order it today, you'll get it tomorrow. That's how I get my books.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. It's on Amazon and all the other places you normally search. It's on bookshop.org, which is a link to independent bookstores.
Yeah.
So it's all over the place today. It's an exciting day.
I will say this to our viewers: go wherever you buy your books, but don't click once to order one. Order 5 of these things or 10 of them. I always have to go to parties and people's houses. I always take a gift. This is what the next 10 people are going to get from me, this book. So it's just fascinating. Wonderful. Scott, I hope you'll come back again and again. I could talk to you all day, because there's a lot in your mind I'd like to sift through and learn about. But there's the web address on the screen, citydivided.com. Instagram is Bolins Scott, and find out more. Scott, any last thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers about the book or anything in the world?
I like the way you previewed it. It it feels like nonfiction, this book, but it's fiction. So we're in a period of time with AI and computers that we're kind of in between. What is real and what is fictional? What is fabricated and what's real? And I think that's that interesting, challenging time we're in right now as a society. So wonderful to be with you, Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We've often seen science fiction turn into reality, movies and books we've read, things come true, but that, I think, is a tribute to the authors who research, like Scott did, a lot of research behind what they do, and sure, some of these things are going to come true. Thank you so much, Scott, and I hope you'll come back again and again.
I'd love to, Mike. A pleasure being with you today.
And for our viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with another author right after this. Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. This show is the Real Estate and Home Improvement Show. We've had experts on all week telling us, where do you go to get your plumbing done? Where do you go to get your roof done? Who can you trust? Who can you trust on different issues? Lately, a lot of our viewers have been asking us about solar and battery backup. So we asked an expert to come on the show, a specialist in those fields. In fact, he's only done this battery backup type of thing since he started his business. Tom Sprague, welcome, Tom.
Oh, good to be here.
Now, mostly you're in the foothills, Fresno, Madera, Mariposa foothills.
Yeah, we basically service 3 counties, Madera, Mariposa, and Fresno. We like to stay north of the 180. We like to have a 1-hour drive radius from our office in Coors Gold.
Oh, you're in Coors Gold. Good.
Yeah, because we like to service our customers if need be.
Those areas I mentioned, especially the foothills, they're most likely to lose their power.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that someone's fault, or is that just how it works? Huh?
Yeah, I mean, it is weather related, a lot of it. But also in the cities, you have a more resilient grid. So in Fresno, you're not going to lose your power as much as in the foothills.
But now, tell me if I'm correct, PG&E sometimes, out of safety, shuts the power off because they don't want these fires. They get blamed for them. They've got to pay for it. So now they're shutting people off.
Yep.
And if you don't have power, I mean, you can't, a lot of things. If you have a well, you can't get water, you can't charge your cell phone. It's a safety issue as well as other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it.
So you tell me how you can keep people on with energy even if the power goes off, like 24 hours a day.
Yeah, when we have battery storage, when the power goes out, it automatically transfers over to the battery power, and your inverter, the solar brains, and also the mechanism that inverts the energy, that will actually tap into the batteries and use that for battery backup. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, were those batteries making a lot of sense?
No, that's about when I got started. I bought property up in Coors Gold. I started my own, me and my friend that bought property up there, PG&E wanted a lot of money to bring in the poles, and we actually hear this a lot in the foothills. PG&E wants a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars to bring in electricity, so they go off-grid.
They go off-grid.
And we do large off-grid, and that's kind of what me and my friend did 12 years ago. That's how we got started. So our business has been statistically about 60% batteries since we started 7 years ago.
Right.
And now with the new rules,
what are these rules? Started in April?
So last April 2023, new rules were implicated by PG&E, and it's actually SDG&E, SoCal Edison, and PG&E, those 3, which are the main in California.
In Fresno, we say PG&E, but there's other companies in other areas.
Yeah. So they decided that they were tired of paying, or I guess you could say crediting retail rates to the solar customers. So they're gonna now credit wholesale rates.
Yeah.
Since April.
So you produce more energy than you could use. PG&E used to have to buy it
at the same price you paid for it.
That was pretty fair, but they changed.
Yeah.
Now it's wholesale.
It was kind of an even exchange.
Yeah.
Now it's wholesale. So what happened is it kind of made batteries a necessity. So now every job we sell, every single job we sell is with batteries, and that's with the whole solar industry.
Right.
So the whole solar industry is adjusting a little bit. They all have to sell batteries now because we want to store that. And other places have been doing this, not just other countries like Australia, but also other places in the States like Hawaii, even Florida. these places that don't have favorable net metering rules,
Yeah.
they have to store their energy to use it overnight.
So now maybe you're not selling it to PG&E, you're pushing it to your own battery.
Right.
You're saving it, storing
Exactly,
it.
yep.
I just have some pictures of these, maybe the batteries. Maybe
Yeah, so
that
that's
one.
a Tesla Powerwall 3. We just
And it's just this little portion. Let me zoom in. Just that part's the battery, right?
that's actually the battery and the inverter all in one.
It kind of blends in. You know, this
Oh,
against
it's really
the
nice.
back wall of the garage
Yeah.
or something. You don't even
Yep.
know it's there.
Yeah, very nice, very attractive, very nice. Powerwall 3 is very popular. We've been selling a lot of those. And then here's some panels that we've installed. And that one right back there that you just went to, go over one more. So this is the Solarc with Simplify. This is also one that we sell a lot of.
And that's a battery.
Yeah, on the left is the batteries, and then on the right is the inverter.
Okay.
And that's a new model that they just came out with, and that is also very attractive for residential.
It just
It's a
blends.
very sleek,
blends in.
nice design.
Are these batteries
That's
also?
a Lion Energy. We're partners with Lion Energy, and we've done a few of those. That's also a very attractive unit. So we're trying to, as time goes on, they're making it look better in your garage, you know, because these things are going to be in everybody's garage probably eventually. So they're making it look more sleek and more attractive designs.
And here's some of the panels. Are these
Uh-huh.
panels more efficient than in the
Yeah,
past?
these panels, we use REC. I used to use REC as like a premium panel, but we partnered with them, and honestly, because we're partners, we just keep proposing with REC panels because they are the best, and the price isn't much different than the cheaper panels. And they have the best, 92% in 25 years, which is industry highest. I mean, to get in the 90%. So 25 years later, your panels will produce 92%, which is pretty
That's pretty
amazing.
good, yeah.
Because in the past, it was 60%, 70%, 80%,
Well, let me ask you about, and I know you, I've known you a long time, I trust you, so I'm not talking to me.
Yeah.
I get these guys knocking on my door all day
Yeah,
long,
yeah.
say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. What's your PG&E bill now? Well,
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
this much in the future, but I want more of a scientific kind of apples to apples comparison. How can I do that?
Yeah, we get that a lot. So recently I wrote a blog about like what to ask if you're going solar. And that does explain some very key questions. This is like, I have relatives from around the country and friends that call me and say, oh, I want you to do my solar. I can't do your solar. I'm in California. But I can tell you what to ask at
What to
least.
ask,
I can
yeah.
tell you, I can look it over and tell you what's going on. So that's kind of what I try to do in this blog, is I try to give people some advice, what to ask, So you want to compare apples to apples. So nowadays, so it used to be just power, really. Your kilowatts. How big is it? Is it an 8 kilowatt system, a 10, a 12? Now we have something else. We have a new terminology called kilowatt hours because we're talking about storage.
I see.
So now we're looking at kilowatts, which is power, and kilowatt hours, which is units of storage. So if you look at both of those things, now you can compare quotes, at least in that sense, on the power and the storage.
Right.
And then from there, the next step is the quality of the products.
Right. You just mentioned, I was going to ask you that. So there's a better quality battery, and
Yeah.
so you don't want them selling you the bad quality one or the, I don't know, I guess it's all about
Exactly,
money,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah, better quality batteries, better brands that have better reputations. They have, all these batteries. You want to go for lithium ferrophosphate, the lithium ion batteries, which the new Tesla Powerwall 3 is LFP, which is why we partner with them. Simplify has always been LFP. They were actually pioneers in that chemistry. But that's the safest and best batteries. And my blog kind of goes into this a little bit.
That Tesla, is that Elon Musk and
That's
all that?
the Elon Musk one.
And where are they making these batteries?
They have. I'm not exactly
Give me the tough
sure
question.
where
I just
they're
think
making
he moved out of California,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know where they're making them.
Yeah,
so
I know they have. I know they have their Fremont.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure what he's doing if the Texas one's open
maybe if
yet.
they're in
but
Texas.
yeah.
Okay. Now, who should call you? I mean, you're not looking for every little residential house in Fresno, right? Are you looking for the people in the mountains, people who need
Well,
to get
I
off
mean,
the grid?
most of our business actually does come from Madera and Mariposa, just because we are based up there. I mean,
In
that's
Course Gold.
in Coors Gold. We still do a lot of Fresno jobs too, but a lot of it is. But now with the batteries, things are changing because now everybody needs batteries. Before we were up there because we were battery specialists. Now everybody needs batteries. So us as battery specialists in the foothills, can kind of open up more into Fresno.
Well, you've been doing the batteries for years and years. and
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
So I'm getting what you're saying now. Before, it might not have made as much sense down here in the city to have a battery because you could sell your power to PG&E. But in April, they changed the rules, so you want to keep it.
Right.
You made it, you keep it.
Yeah,
Because you get a
exactly.
battery for that. So, and now, I know here, my power, I'm in the city, I'm in the Tower District. At 4 o'clock, my power goes up. My rates go up.
Yeah.
But maybe if I have
That's
a battery,
another-
I
yeah.
can start using mine,
Exactly. That's another
Yeah.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that you can offset the peak charges.
the peak charger.
Yeah.
Right.
So the way we program our batteries is when the sun goes down, now you're going to start using your battery.
Because you're not producing solar. I get it
Right.
now.
Once your
Wow.
battery's down to like 20%,
Uh-huh.
then we stop, and then you start using PG&E.
PG&E, okay.
Right. So some people, that 20%, we're trying to get them through the nights most of the 365 days a year.
Right.
Most of the days we're getting them. So we're designing it kind of like we designed off-grid. Only with off-grid we used the generator when we ran out of batteries. Now we're using PG&E when we ran out of batteries.
Right. Right.
Yep.
And if it's after their peak hours, might not
Yeah.
be middle of the night, you're sleeping, running a little air conditioner maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I put your website on the screen, spragasolar.com.
Yep.
And is that the best way to go?
Yeah, SpragaSolar.com, SpragaElectric.com. You can call us directly and set up an appointment. But yeah, basically we ask for your PG&E. If you do have a 1 year PG&E record, that's how we size your system.
It's easy now. You just go online, click, and you
Yeah,
got your PG&E
yeah,
record.
yeah. They're making it a little bit easier. Yeah. So
The green button. You go up PG&E and press the
exactly.
green
Yeah.
button.
Yeah.
And they can call you. I like to study it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the website and study the heck out of it.
Yeah,
They don't have
yeah.
questions for you. So.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of information on our website. We've been updating it a lot. I mean, the solar industry has been going through some changes, especially in California with all these new rules. But I recently went to RE Plus in Anaheim. That's a solar convention that they have every year. So this year there was, last year there was 40,000. This year there was about 50,000 people there, right by Disney, and that was all of the. I mean, there was
Convention Center, right?
Yeah, Anaheim
love that
Convention Center.
Anaheim
I think there was
Convention,
1,300 vendors. So
Wow.
there's just the industry is just blowing up more and more every year, and yeah, eventually. And another thing I wanted to mention before I left, it was the fact that electricity is becoming more. It's more than just powering your house. We already know on most houses we can add enough panels to power your house. What's happening now is we start having EV cars.
boy.
I have an EV car. If you have the room for the panels, if you have the room, you can actually offset your gas bill now for your
Wow.
for your transportation.
I hadn't thought of that. You get the EV
Yeah.
electric vehicle, you got to charge that, and that's another power usage.
It's another power usage, but if you have the space, which a lot of people do, you actually can offset your trip to work.
Wow.
So now you take out your gas bill. So as we're changing things, and with the new air conditioners coming out, I mean, this was at the convention too, they're finding all ways to make them more efficient with solar and with DC power.
Yeah, I bet they're coming
So-
out with more efficient air conditioners
Mhm.
because that's how things work. You
Yep.
get better at it. Tom, we're running out of time. Last
Okay.
thoughts? What do you want our viewers to know? What do you want them to do? Call you up?
Yeah, definitely call us and get a proposal. We would love to actually do a design for you. We get your PG&E bill. We go out there. I do a quick measure in most cases. And what happens is we can put together a customized design for you and your family. Because we've been doing this for years, and we've been doing it for off-grid customers. Now with the new rules, it's kind of the same thing, only we're using PG&E instead of a generator. So we're very used to designing systems for your use.
How do people finance this thing?
Oh, we have many finance partners. In fact, we signed up with a new company a little while ago called Go Green, and it's actually, I think it is a government website, so it's a government kind of program, and we're linked with about a dozen credit unions, and we can get really low. I mean, we're talking about nowadays anything under 6 is amazing, and we can get even
it is,
if you have good credit, we can get you under 6% for 15 years.
And you'd own it.
Same as cash, you own it.
So 15 years and it's paid off.
Yeah,
Then you're
15
living
years
for
and it's
free
paid
for the
off.
rest of your life.
Exactly.
Into your retirement years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And we
that's
still have our
amazing.
traditional lenders too, that are even longer and lower payments. But yeah, if you have good credit, we always push you to the credit union because you can get really good rates even in this climate.
Right.
I mean,
Very good. Well, Tom Sprague. Tell them the phone number, 559.
971-9793.
Very good. And it's not just the mountains. It's anywhere north of.
We like to stay north of 180.
North of 180 is most of Fresno.
It is most of Fresno,
Yeah,
yeah.
North Fresno.
Most of Fresno, yep.
And the important part,
Yeah.
the Tower District, is more than 180. Thanks, Tom. I
Yeah.
want you to come every month if you can.
Yeah.
This is very important information, and
Yes.
I just like an honest person to come and tell us the truth.
Yeah,
That's what
I always
it is.
enjoy being here, yeah.
We will be back with more real estate and home improvement right after this. Welcome back to Central Valley Talk, where we celebrate what's good about Fresno and Clovis and Madera, the whole valley. There's so many great things going on and great people doing great things. We want you to know about them. Here's one thing I don't know about. Is it time to buy a house, time to sell a house? What's going on with the interest rates? Should we refinance? Should we get a second? The answer is I do not know. That's why we bring in experts who do know about these things, who've been doing this for a long, long time. And our guests are Julia and Tad. Tadich, welcome.
You know, it's well, hi, thank you so much for, it's funny because we come from a market where we grew up as in Hawaii. No one can afford to own a house.
Right.
I mean, you have to be a millionaire in order to be able to own a house. Here in the Central Valley, even though prices are up, you can still afford to somehow own a house.
I know people are paying $4,000 a month in rent.
Oh, gosh.
Can you imagine?
That's
They
a
can buy
whole
house, huh?
nother issue.
You
Yeah.
could definitely buy a house.
Yes,
buy
I
a
mean,
house.
it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Are interest rates up or are they down? What's going on?
They rolled down a little bit. They're definitely not the 9s and 8s, 6 and 8, and you can do better than that depending on your what you have in your retirement account or what you have in savings, which isn't money you have to put towards the purchase because there's certainly there's programs out there where you can get first and seconds.
So if I have a couple $100,000 in my retirement account, that may make it easier to get a good loan?
It just helps you in the qualification process when Fannie Mae, who really rules interest rates basically, gets the information about your amount in your retirement, the amount of your income, your debt, what your debt to income is on the purchase, or how much you're putting down, and what's going on with your FICO score. It's going to offer you rates. So at a 740 rate, 9 and 8 is out there, or 6 and 8. Sorry, 6 and 8. And I saw a 5.99. You could actually get that.
That'd be great.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. Let's say I came to you and said, I want to get a second on my house. I want to put solar on it. I want to put in windows and stuff.
Good idea.
I'm going to get a second for
That is a great idea.
And I came to Julia Tata, because you guys do loans.
Right.
Not just your real estate, which they're experts at, but Julia and Tad are really experts at the loans. So you have me fill out some forms. And you say, Mike, your credit score's a little bad, and you have this tax lien and this. Do this, this, and this, and come back to me. Would you do all that?
No. I would say, sit down, let's talk. Let me
Right.
help you.
That's what I'm saying. I come to you.
I hold your hand, and
present
this is what
my
we're going to do.
problems
We're
and
going to
issues.
call the people. We're going to see what the problem is and what we had to do to help you take care of it.
All right.
So,
So people shouldn't be afraid
no.
to come talk to you about,
No.
even if they have a tax lien or have some credit card debt or whatever.
And believe me, if you did it, we did it worse.
Yeah, you did the same.
So you have
Amen.
no concerns. How do you think I learned how to fix all these problems?
Yeah.
It wasn't because I was working with people that did it, because we've done it.
Yeah. It's called living life.
That's
Living
right.
La Vida
Now
Loca.
we own our house outright. And,
Wow.
Yeah, all of that.
Amazing, yeah.
So we did all that. It's possible.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is who should come talk to you and who shouldn't. Anybody who thinks they might benefit from having a real estate loan should talk to you.
Everybody. Everybody.
Well, anybody that's experiencing life. Okay, I know a lot of people have blown through their savings, and
Yeah.
now they're living on credit cards because of prices, because of costs. I mean, how much did you pay the last time you filled up your car?
That's right.
And last time I looked, the groceries ain't getting any cheaper. So people are living on a kind of an edge, and there's times that someone that has some experience can actually offer advice.
You know,
without the expected.
I don't want to talk to somebody today. I don't want to help you sell your house because you can't afford your payments and there's no hope for you. I'd like to help you before that happens, to help you reorganize the things so that you can keep your house.
You bet.
I mean, the bottom line is,
It's a possibility.
where are you going to live?
Right. I started by saying this, is that I 65, I've gone in debt,
Old
credit
man.
cards, this, that. Now I'm only going to borrow money to improve my house. That's the only thing I'm going to do
Yeah.
for the rest of my life. So,
Oh,
Well, there are a lot of options. Certainly, leasing through a solar company is probably the least optimal if you're looking to improve with solar. If you can get a commercial loan of some sort and an underwritten loan for an amount to cover the cost of the solar panels, so you end up owning them, and then you're just making a payment on a loan, the rates are going to be better.
wow.
If
and
you've
I
got-
wouldn't, a commercial loan's not the way to do it. It's a home loan. A home loan will get you a better interest rate. I'm working on a second for somebody. 9.9% is the interest rate. They're getting $115,000 behind a $367,000 first. The property's worth $650,000. So that's kind of their credit scores are about 740.
And
So
the interest rate they
and
have on the
that
loan
rate
is
of
one you
9.99
don't
is
wanna
way
mess with.
less than what the solar people are going to give
Yeah.
you.
Now, can you still write off the interest of a home loan or no?
That is an interesting
I
question.
have no idea.
You should be able to, but I actually heard some people talking about the government's trying to keep us from doing that.
Right.
But I would do it.
At this point, it can still be done, but the sage advice is always consult your tax
Yes.
professional.
Talk to the tax person,
Because we don't do taxes,
Mm-hmm.
we're not licensed to do that. There are people that are, and we can refer you to people. It's better to get that expert advice
Yes.
from that expert.
Now, so somebody that's going to get a solar, by the way, the solar guys come, they talk fast and they're slick, and next thing they have you signing some, you don't know if you're leasing or buying, you don't know what interest rate you're
We
paying.
literally sat with the solar guy yesterday because I want to buy a battery
Mm-hmm.
backup. I've been looking. And this guy gave me more information than I have ever heard from a solar guy.
Mm-hmm.
Totally honest. If I'm going to do the battery thing, it's going to be with him. But you're right. And he even talked about that. He talked about how people have called him and been into some really ugly situations with these solar people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've been in this business long enough that I've helped people out of things that they signed for by going to those people and having them back down because what they were telling them wasn't even true and there was no way it was going to happen. And unfortunately, those people are still out there.
Yeah,
So,
they are. So
yeah.
now, you guys, I have billions of questions for you. I bring you on because I get free advice. You give me
You
answer all
don't
the
call
questions I
me
want.
for any time.
Um,
In fact, I consider it an honor if you
thank
called
you.
me. Not because you want me to come talk on your show, but
my question is, who should be calling you right now? Somebody wants to buy, somebody wants to refinance, all of the above?
Yes.
yes.
So
Yes.
here's the truth of the matter. We have a market now where sellers are really few and far between.
Yeah.
That's true.
We're down from 2 years ago, we're down to 1.9 months of inventory.
Unbelievable.
That is a seller's market.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're down close to 200 units in the month of August from 2 years ago to today. But the mean price is up almost $75,000.
Do you think that this has to do with because the thing that would happen with NAR and the commissions and everybody's panicking and buyers are thinking, yeah, but if I buy a house and I have to pay I got to pay the agents that's selling me the money, selling me the house and all of that stuff. Talk a little about that because it's so
Well,
dumb.
That's less an effect on market than it is effect on the capabilities and understanding of the buyers. Because the buyer-broker agreement is basically the same contract that we've always used. It's just very few people did. It's just a commitment. It's a mutual respect contract. It can be specific and short-term for just one particular property, or it can be for a period of time for any properties that meets this criteria, and it also includes an agreement of compensation.
Seems confusing, but I don't think in time it's going to be kind of be the same. I think.
For old fuddy-duddies like us, it's a little hard to adapt.
We actually got a call from another agent today regarding that, and Ted had to re-explain to him, hey, this is nothing, no news. It's not anything new.
Yeah.
It's always been that way.
I'll say this: I'm a real estate broker. I mostly just do Central Valley Talk and let the professionals handle real estate. But if I'm a broker and I take a listing on a house, can I tell the seller, who's my client, hey, I'm going to charge you 6%. We can negotiate that, but if I charge you 6%, I'd like to offer the other agent half of that.
Well, it's certainly done.
Then it's the
and
same, isn't it?
It's virtually
is.
the same.
Yeah.
But what it is, it's about disclosure.
Ah.
It's so that everyone knows how the cow ate the cabbage. You know.
I felt in California it was pretty clear. I think other states maybe
And
got
that
us all in
may
trouble.
well be true, but there also have been brokers in just about every state that have been
Taking
less
advantage.
than forthcoming
Mm.
in how they were going to make a living.
Yeah.
And that's why this.
I'm not ashamed
thing-
to say I'm making that much money.
Yeah.
I mean,
in
I work for
California,
that
they
money.
hold us already to such high standards. It's very strict in California, and
You bet.
I hope it continues about the same. Now, you guys, in the market you're in, the whole state, in fact, if there's any house for sale by any agent,
Right.
the buyer doesn't have to call that agent. They could call you guys.
Yes.
right? Same-
Absolutely.
Yes.
Um,
And anywhere, we will drive wherever we have to do sell a house
We've-
and help a client.
I think the big decision is, a lot of people I talk to is they can't decide to buy a house because it's too, they don't know all the ins and outs and ups and downs of money, how much you need down and stuff like that. But that's where you come in, right?
That's
bet.
what's great about disclosure today. When I start working with a borrower, I'm going to send them a disclosure. This is what it's going to cost you. I'll go price the loan based on their credit. This is what the interest rate is, and we can lock it for 30 days or whatever, how long it's going to take.
You can also
To
tell them
give-
what they can afford, right?
And to give them that assurity that they can afford that house when the house closes.
Yeah, I want people who are thinking they can't buy to come talk to Julia. If
Yes.
you're thinking of considering it, come talk to Julia and Tad. I don't mean to leave Tad
And to
out,
give
but-
you real information
Yeah.
about what you can qualify for and actually what your payment's going to be. And maybe it is going to be a little more than your rent payment, but it's your house.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is not just what you can qualify for, it's what you're willing to pay.
Right.
You know, most people come into the office, they can qualify for a lot more loan than they really are interested in making a payment for.
That's
So
so true.
we start shopping the houses that are closer to the price range that'll give them the payment they
that they
want
want.
instead of what they qualify for. Because that's the most frustrating thing to do to a buyer, is show them houses that they don't want to make that
Yeah.
payment for.
Can I get a HELOC?
They don't do them really
No more
anymore.
HELOCs.
Well, they are, but they're ugly.
Yeah.
They're really ugly.
You mean high interest or something?
Yeah.
Like that?
Well, high interest is
I'm
only
going to
one
let him
part
talk
of it.
about this.
They also use a new credit score model
Oh,
called
that's the worst
Experian
part.
8. And Experian 8 takes a look at a bunch of things that are recent. Even if you have perfect payment, you come up with a score for this Experian 8 model that is, I mean, orders of magnitude lower.
For example, these people had a 740 mid score, and Experian 8 had them in the 630s.
Literally.
And you
Wow.
cannot, and this is what,
Which either raises their interest rate or
yeah,
disqualifies
yeah.
them.
Or-
Yeah, no,
knocks
they
them
didn't
right out of the-
qualify.
yeah,
Oh,
knocks
no,
them right
what's
out of
even
the
better,
process.
it's 630 score for this program, reduced the the amount of loan they could get. So instead of 115,000, they could only get 30,000. That's immense.
I'd say this, don't worry about HELOC or what kind of loan. Come talk to Tad and Julia Tadich, and they'll get you into the product that you need.
And if
can
you have a
afford,
bad
and-
credit score, I know how to help you
I know.
without me making any money for you to make that credit score better. I do that for nothing.
Someday we'll do a show on what these two do for people for nothing. They're always helping people, always giving free advice, always doing follow-up, always going helping with foreclosures and getting people out and stuff. And,
Yeah.
and they do all this stuff for free, but they especially like to help people who are maybe going to be foreclosed, right?
Yes.
They should call you.
I want to stop that.
Yeah,
I mean,
stop the foreclosure.
there's lots of ways to
Stop
stop
the
that.
steal.
Yes, exactly. Unfortunately, it's still going
We're
on.
way past time, you guys.
Okay.
Give one more message. What do you want our viewers to know?
Call us. Please call us. We would love to help you. If nothing else, it'll be nice to talk to you. More stories to add to my stories.
And
We got
Julia
lots
can
of
be
them.
reached at 559-977-3583.
Yeah. I'm going to add
Which I
that.
have with me all the time.
I spelled Tadich wrong, so I've got to redo that anyway. So I'll add your phone number on there as well. So,
TADICH, Tango Alpha Delta India Charles Hotel.
right. Or just go to clovisfirst.com. It's right there on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
www.clovis1st.com. It's on the screen. Thanks for coming.
We have a nice
Thank you, Mike.
website. You can go in and give information about a loan, and we can get you qualified right away, so you can actually look at what you're going to do before you do it.
Very good. We will be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.
Bye.
Record button, so we better go live. And here we go. Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world about their books, about their process, how they even get a book written and published. Check out this book. If you're looking for your next book to read, The Twin Towers Children. September 11th is always a very moving subject for me. I had children, elementary school children, when on September 11th when the disaster happened. And our next author, who's, by the way, author of many books, all the way from the United Kingdom, welcome our guest, Wendy Sheffield. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you very much.
Tell our viewers where you're located.
I'm located in Sutton Coldfield, which is near Birmingham in the UK.
Somewhere in the UK. Americans know very little about the geography of the United Kingdom. Is that sort of north and east?
It's okay. I'm no good at geography either. It's in the mid. But I do know this. It's in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was saying. I mean, one of my recollections of September 11th was that I had children. It was early in the morning, and I had decisions to make. Do I take them to school that day? Do I keep them home? It's going to be traumatic for the kids. As well as for me, of course, and I took my kids to school. But you wrote this book, which is, I think, a fictional account of how. Well, tell us about the book. I'll let you do it.
Well, I'll first start to tell you a bit about myself as an author. I started writing spiritual books after having spiritual experiences myself, wanting to help others who had experienced similar things. My early books went into detail about my experiences, and my follow-on books expanded on various spiritual topics. I then journeyed into the world of fiction with the aim of still focusing on spiritual genre, but using the fictional narratives and characters to help people understand spiritual experiences in more detail. My latest series is called the Within series, which you can see from our website all about that. I won't go into detail. Right, we'll go straight on to the book now.
Okay.
Yes, as you said, it's based on the Twin Towers, and it's called The Twin Towers Children, Echoes of Innocence Within. And it's a fictional tale of children recalling past lives and sharing memories of the 9/11 tragedy. Before I tell you about it, I'm just going to say a quick dedication out of respect to the US. That's who I wrote basically this book in dedication, I think. Right. To all the souls who lost their lives on September the 11th, 2001, we dedicate this moment of remembrance. May we never forget how these tragic events touched the lives of millions around the world. Right, now I'll go into the book. It's about a group of children across the globe who find their lives inexplicably connected by visions of the tragedy. These children gather together to compare their stories, and it's discovered that they have past lives during this time. Various people help them to come to terms with these past life tragedies, which include the 9/11 tragedy. I've also got a poem, but I'm going to say that at the end, so I'll let you ask me a few questions if you'd like to.
First of all, I forgot to mention that this book just came out around October the 1st of this year, and so we're probably maybe one of the first people to expose the world to the book.
Yes.
And
But I think I was inspired, Spirit inspired me to write it. Because I always get inspiration from Spirit. Some is more inspiration than others. And this is one of those books that just, when it just comes to me, I know that it's the inspiration is definitely from Spirit. So I know that this is, it's a really special memory to both the US and all around the world. So I feel it's very important.
can you give us some of the narrative from the book, some of the things that happen in the book without spoiling it?
as I said, it's it's about a group of children. They're all around the world. They've got absolutely no connection, and all of a sudden they start to have dreams, and they come together, and it turns out that all the children have different past life experiences, but one of the main past life experiences that draw these children together is the 9/11 tragedy. And there's various experts who are talking to them and trying to help them understand why these children from all over the world have suddenly come together. You know, what have they got? You know, how are they connected? That is it, really.
Yeah. Who's this book written for? Is it Is it for adults? Can children read it?
Well, I've put on Amazon. I've put 13 to 18 plus.
18 plus. So
No, to be honest with you, I never write. Although I sometimes put 18 on Amazon, all my books can be written, could be read by 13 to 18 plus. Really, I never write anything, you know, of an adult nature.
yeah, the whole idea is just fascinating to me. Knowing your background, would we call you a spiritualist, a medium? What's the best term for what you do?
Well, I like to call myself a spiritual author and healer, really, because it's healing is my main background that I've got, you know, passion for, and that always comes across in all my books, I think, really, because it's all trying to help people who have had spiritual experiences who don't understand them. And why I brought fiction into my books now is because I feel that it will help people understand spiritual matters even better by relating it to a story. And this particular story, because it's got a real life background as well, I believe it has added extra weight.
Now, is this your first fiction? Is this your first work of fiction?
No, I've since I've last spoke to you, I have written. There's two new series of books. This is one of the Within series, which is a blend of fantasy, adventure, and introspection. Each book in the series introduces unique characters who possess extraordinary inner abilities. As they navigate their worlds, they face not only external adversaries, but also the internal struggles that come with their gifts. So it's helping people understand, people with gifts, really.
Now, this is what, maybe your 8th book? Or am I not counting them right?
Oh, yeah. The 8th in the Within series, yes.
Yeah. So, by the way, we have on the screen your website and your Instagram as well. But if our guests go to Spirit Writers Speaks, spiritwriterspeaks.com, what will they find there?
It's mainly to tell everyone about my healing services, but you'll also see my shop, which is all my books are on there. But although people can go to the website and read about the books, people tend to like to buy from Amazon. So my website is just about. I've put a page with regard to my Within series, and also there's another series of books, Ready for Anything series. So there's 2 pages of my 2 series that are my recent works.
Now, if somebody wants to talk to you about your healing or spiritual work, can they reach you through the website?
Yes, they can reach me. Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah. Well, regardless, you're a fascinating person. I could talk to you for hours. They keep giving me the signal. We're going over time, but I just want to give you. Did you say you're going to read us a poem or something from the book? Okay, I'd love to hear that.
It's a very important poem.
Okay. Is it in the book?
Yes, it's at the beginning of the book. Would you like me to start?
I would love that.
Right. It's called A Poem of Remembrance. In the heart of a city, tall and grand, twin towers stood, a testament to man's hand. Reaching the heavens, they kissed the sky, symbols of progress, dreams flying high. But on a fateful morning, clear and bright, darkness descended, shattering the light. Two birds of steel with malice and hate crashed into the towers, sealing their fate. Flames and smoke, a harrowing sight. Lives were lost in the blink of an eye. Heroes emerged with courage untold. In the face of terror, their spirits bold. The world watched in horror, hearts filled with pain, as the towers crumbled like tears in the rain. A scar on the skyline, a wound deep and wide, a moment in history forever enshrined. From the ashes a unity was born, a global resolve, a vow to mourn. Nations stood together hand in hand. Against the shadows they made a stand. The impact rippled far and wide, changing the course of the human tide. Security tightened, freedom's weight. In the name of safety, new rules were laid. Yet in the sorrow, hope found a way to rebuild, to honor, to face a new day. Memorials stand where the towers once soared, a tribute to lives forever adored. Twin Towers, though gone, your legacy remains in the hearts of the people, in the world's veins. A reminder of loss, of strength, of grace, of a world united in a shared embrace. That's it.
You are an amazingly gifted person in so many ways, Wendy. I always love to talk to you. I can't wait for you to come back on the show. So thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And for our viewers, don't go anywhere because we've got another author coming up right after this. Thank you, Wendy. Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. The segment is business. Business in Fresno, business anywhere. People watch us from all over the world, so wherever you are, we're talking business. Have you thought of starting a business? Everybody thinks it's easy. You just go open your door and you're in business. Well, it's not that easy. There's a lot of steps you need to take, compliance issues and things like that. So we've got a special guest here who's actually an expert in such things. Welcome, Lanisha Senegal. Welcome, Lanisha.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for having me.
I just get this out of the way. I know you're Fresno-based, but also you do Midwest. You go back and forth a little bit?
Yes, I am now bi-coastal, which I am loving it. I'm loving the innovation. I'm loving the new opportunities that this brings, being able to network with national partners, and just a little bit more invested in national issues, but most importantly, still being able to advocate for my community.
Yeah, we're finding more and more that you don't have to be in, one city. We're all national and international these days.
And business still gets done. So
yeah, business still gets done, right? I do, you know what we do. We interview people. I interview a lot of authors, and now they're all over the world. I'm interviewing them all over the world. So international, we're all international. Anyway, Lanisha, somebody wants to start a business. Where should they start? I guess they should start by calling Lanisha Senegal.
Yeah, anytime, or locally in Fresno, we have Vision View Business Formation Center. I have a dynamic team who is on site that can provide direct services for them. I'm always a phone call away to provide any kind of consultant services. And some of those services include accounting, entity formations, any kind of compliance, nonprofit, LLC, any kind of services required to, help you to provide that legal ease to start and stay in business. That's what I do. So you find yourself, in the startup phase and just need that step-by-step guidance, hand-holding, we help do the business plans, any kind of upskilling, any kind of software, literally anything that it takes to start a business. We'll be your people. We'll be your go-to.
And before we get too far, I'm going to put this poster up. You have is it a workshop, a town hall, I guess, coming up? It's going to be at
Yes.
Fresno City Hall.
Yes, and that's what I really wanted to come on here and chat with you about, Mike, today. One of the things that I, recognize with small businesses, and that's why I'm advocating so hard for our community, our residents and our small businesses is, post-pandemic, I really saw that, the uptick in rising rents and how a number of businesses were threatened to be displaced. And part of some of my research, being a part of the Drive Initiative, kind of thrust me into finding out where those concerns were happening and what kind of strategies we could create to help stabilize businesses and to create wealth for first-time investors, communities of color. And going back to businesses, what I was recognizing was that a number of investors were buying up commercial properties and residential properties. And it, kind of created this uptick in affordability and leaving a lot of families and, like I said, small businesses at risk for whether or not they can even afford rent. They were buying up the properties, holding them, waiting for, new investments to come to town. For example, we have the high-speed rail. So small businesses or investors were buying up real estate. Been seeing a number of investors buying up dorms, college dorms, and even now, of all things, buying up even mobile homes, and so families that are so fragile. I just want to kind of, encourage people to engage, find out what's happening around us, and find out ways that we can ensure that we're not caught off guard like if we were in the pandemic after the pandemic, but we're providing solutions that we all can be a part of stabilizing our futures. Small businesses matter, and so that's why this is so important to me.
Now, when a business is formed, a lot of them don't take the time to get wise advice from someone like Lanisha. What are some of the mistakes you see in small businesses they make right away just starting out?
Not doing your research. And I think, and then as it just relates again to real estate, sometimes they, think that it's best to go and get a brick and mortar before they actually recognize that their business might do just as well as with using some of the new strategies to be an e-commerce business. Whether or not they even have a viable customer base to sustain, getting into real estate. And so, taking a step back and actually counting up the costs. One of the other challenges that I see is, young aspiring entrepreneurs are those that, they like to take risks. They see their dream. This is an opportunity. And so they will use an opportunity to go inside of a building, remodel it, do all of that, put on a fresh coat of paint and improvements, and don't realize that it doesn't have the ADA accessibility, might, still need so many other improvements. And then once they've done all that, they no longer have operating capital. And so then they're scrambling for a loan. And so want to make sure that our businesses aren't, going through that, but working with owners to, not so much as be predatory in that space, but finding ways in which those small businesses can really realize their dreams. And if they are talking about future ownership of a building, that there's ways in which they can do that.
Now, if somebody takes the time and meets with someone like you and prepares a proper business plan, would that business plan help them answer some of those questions, like whether you even need a building or what type of building or how much of a building you could afford?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess it also depends on how, if you just get in the business template, then it probably would not. I think it also would benefit a small business by actually getting a business coach. And so that's part of, what I do, have been invested in developing small businesses and seen it all built, have developed real estate, have bought homes, have bought, have invested in other small business companies. Just wanting to make sure that they have someone who can actually guide them through that entire process to save them. If they want to stay in business past 5 years, it's best to get a coach.
Get a coach, yeah. Now, let's look at this poster again. You have the town hall coming up. Who should attend that? Who would you like to attend it?
So for the town hall on October 17th at 4 o'clock, I'm just really excited to present to the community this town hall. It will be attended by developers. It will be real estate, realtors, residents, small businesses. And I'm very thankful for the welcome by Assemblymember Dr. Joaquin Arambula, who will, also share some of his insight in maybe from a lawmaker's perspective, solutions in which that he can contribute, other lawmakers can contribute to ensuring that we stabilize high market rate rents, ensuring that we're creating these collaborative solutions, and ensuring that our community is involved in the process. And some other players who are engaged in that, boots on the ground are also people like Elliot Balch, who is a part of he's the champion for small town, downtown businesses. You have champions like Allison Walker Williams and Sabrina Kelly with the West Fresno CDC, who are advocates for the West Fresno community. You have myself, who's a strong advocate for the Fresno Airport District. And so you have a number of, like I said, stakeholders who are interested in ensuring that we protect our small businesses and find ways in which we can create these new solutions that will help sustain businesses for the long haul. And so we did come up with an idea of 6 different initiatives that we're proposing, and just helping each of us to imagine what that could possibly look like.
Yes. And so is the town hall for the public? Or are you hoping the public will show up?
Yes, it'll be hosted at City Hall in council chambers. And yes, the community from every stakeholder who has an interest, from small businesses, from realtors. And let me ask you, Mike, for example, as a real estate investor and realtor who has a large portfolio of real estate, if a small business had a conversation with you about, would you be open to participating in like an ownership, shared ownership strategy that will, help to secure some of your vacant properties, but would also be a win-win for you. Would you be open to that conversation?
Yes. Yeah, I'd be happy if somebody just brought up that kind of conversation. So.
And that's where I am at. That's where this is what it's all about. So some of the initiatives are around what we call, so let's say, for example, Tower District, where you largely have a huge footprint, is what if in the Tower District we can create what we call a wealth zone. And that's similar to, but largely different to a enterprise zone or empowerment zone. As you know, it creates the excitement around investors investing in a neighborhood. But a wealth zone actually does one of a few things. One is the mindset shift, in which the community feels like they're a part of something bigger, in that a mix of different types of investors, including community investors, first-time investors, small business investors, all coming together to find solutions to keep their neighborhoods from being gentrified, from being, keeping the ownership local. ensuring that homes, are not bought up by outside investors, but it looks and feels like how you want and wish to see your neighborhood being developed, whether that be those child care, daycare centers, whether that be, the local barbershops, even your entertainment mixed hubs, your workplaces, your business incubators, so having that look and feel of what by design a community wants to see in their neighborhoods, and then the ownership mix is owned by the residents and the small businesses that make up that neighborhood.
You never see an investor come and buy a property and then lower the rents, right? But yeah, I see.
No, but there are some strategies that could help him collaborate with the community to do a public/private partnership strategy that will help lessen the burden of acquiring properties, working with small businesses who are in existing buildings and would like to maybe convert those properties over to become community-owned properties. So if an owner wants to sell a property and maybe, just want to offload it as paying all the taxes, still paying the utilities and the maintenance and all of those, essential fees just to operate the building, but the building is vacant, or they might have a tenant that is existing in the building and you're like, I want to sell it, but let's create a win-win solution that will support both the dreams and the return on investment interest from that investor. And the government, our lawmakers can play a big part in that by doing something that we call tenant owner conversion grants, as an example, private-public partnership match investments, as an example, and again, similar to how an enterprise zone or empowerment zone works, creating tax incentives. But there's a number of mix of ways that we can get together and really see the transformation of our communities.
This is exciting. This whole initiative is very exciting to me, and I can't speak for, say, North Fresno, but certainly the Tower District and downtown and South Fresno and Southeast and Southwest Fresno. Wow, this could be very powerful, transformational for the future. I'm very happy.
I'm excited. Again, part of my, for lack of a better word, my advocacy, lobbying, work across the country right now. I'm definitely stirring up the noise to ensure that our community is represented, and want to make sure that we're part of the big picture, so that we're never again caught off guard as we were post-pandemic. So I'm here to advocate for our small businesses.
Well, thank you for what you do, Lanisha. It's very exciting. I hope our audience finds it as exciting as I do. But you and I are kind of nerds about this kind of stuff. We love to talk about it, but you're making it happen. Thank you, Lanisha. We're way past time. I could talk to you all day. Any last thoughts for our viewers?
Get to the town hall. It's October 16th at 4 p.m. at City Hall. October 17th. October 17th at City Hall. If this is something that matters to you and your families, if you're an investor that just want to learn more about these new solutions, or if you're a small business that would love to go through the process and see if you might be interested in converting your property to become a community-owned asset, and others who might be interested in just making sure that our neighborhoods still stay owned and reflect the vision of our communities, then this is the conversation for all of us to be having.
This is the time and this is the place, and it's being done by Lanisha Senegal. Thank you, Lanisha. Thanks for your time, and thanks for what you're doing for our community, many communities, hopefully. And for our viewers, we'll be right back after this.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.
My horse a hummingbird, and a very small tiger. Look at this book. What could that title mean? We're going to find out because we have the author of that book right here on our show. Welcome, Amita McBride. Amita?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Did I get the title right? My horse, a hummingbird, and a very small tiger.
Very close, yes.
Tell us what that's about.
Well, it was my first book that I wrote about a decade ago, and it's a true story. Everything that I write is inspired by my travel and events that have taken place in my life. And this hummingbird had gotten trapped in my feed barn, and she was frantically trying to get out, and I was trying to load my horse onto a trailer. And as I watched her, she was trying to go through a window that didn't open, and she was exhausting herself, and the door was open behind her. And I was trying to catch her and help her, and she was fighting me and fighting herself and fighting everything. And when she finally surrendered and just collapsed on the windowsill, I was able to pick her up and turn around and let her fly out into the sky. And I realized in that moment that this was a very powerful story. And it sounds like a children's book, but it is actually a story for all ages. And I've had people of all age ranges read it, and it's about really looking at how you live your life. And do you constantly throw yourself against brick walls, or do you look at all the options around you? Do you stop? Do you take a breath? Do you turn around and walk through the door that's presenting itself to you? And so it was just this amazing inspiration for a story about life and having the courage to listen to your heart and follow your dreams and move through difficulties and see them as blessings, even though they might not feel that way at the time. So.
And this book is getting attention. It's 10 years later, and is it getting a resurgence of attention?
Well, what happened was, I guess I will share this, is that my son, who I lost shortly after the book, did the beautiful art for the book. So I wasn't in a place where I could do anything with the story. And so it took some time, and with my other works and some of my other involvements, I started getting calls and questions about the book. And I've done some other interviews about the book, and I've had some interest of it maybe being a series, more directed towards children, but in terms, again, of empowerment and self-belief and honoring your dreams and not following what other people tell you to do. And so I'm pretty excited about the possibilities with this book, because my other writing is very, very different. This is the only work that I've done like this.
Now we have, I should say, we have some of your other books here as well. You're going to have to help me because I can't see the screen so far anymore. I'm losing the ability. Well, you say the name of one of your other books. Something Animal,
Sure.
Have Animal, Animal Crackers. Tell us about that one.
Yes, I have another book, Have Animal Crackers Will Travel, and that is also sort of unique in how I write. And it's a collection of writings throughout my life to inspire people again to live their lives fully, to be who they are, to be their own visionary, to be the voice of their spirit, and to live fully. And I'm also in 2 books in a series called A Journey of Riches with an Australian publisher. And it's a best-selling series in 8 countries. It's a huge honor to be in his series.
And you wrote part of the book?
I'm a co-author, so I wrote one of the chapters. So the first book is called Transform Your Wounds into Wisdom, and I'm an author in that book. And his latest book, Elevate Your Life, he contacted me and asked me to be in that book. And I'm listed as the first author, which is a huge honor. All of his proceeds go towards orphanages, farmers, the elderly, people that are struggling in Bali and in different areas. And it's really amazing because he sends out emails showing pictures of how the funds and the monies coming in for the work are truly helping people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I mean, to tell our viewers, where are you? Where do you live that you have horses and cowboy hats and stuff like that?
I'm in Missoula, Montana. I came here from Colorado, and I live in a canyon in a partial earth house. It's pretty neat. So I'm a beekeeper and a glass blower, and I do a lot of different things. So,
Now, does it snow there? Do you have to endure snow?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
You probably have the same in Colorado, I would imagine.
It's very similar. I lived at higher elevation in Colorado, but it gets very cold here, a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't see snow. We'd have to travel if we want to see snow where we are. So.
Well, we've got plenty to share.
What now? There's the book you talked about. Another book. It's coming out. You were just talking about it, or it's already?
Yeah, I'm working on a couple of other books. I'm pretty excited about this new one. I have a Norwegian illustrator who's going to do watercolors for me. So this is very exciting because it's a new dynamic for me. And it's a true story, and it took place in Glacier National Park in Montana when I worked there a number of years ago. And so I'm writing the story that happened, and I'm also including a lot of information about the animals that I encountered on that particular day and about the park. And I'd like to be able to find a local publisher to put it in national parks. And I'm also about to start working on a collection of stories. I've traveled extensively and lived with indigenous in many parts of the world and worked with elders and medicine people, and I work with Amazon plants. And so I'm working on putting together a collection of stories of these travels, these amazing, remarkable opportunities that I've had. All of my work is intended to help people transmute difficulty, to be inspired, to step into the truth of who they are, instead of living small, contracted, to expand, because life isn't easy. Nothing's guaranteed ever, and it's how we work through that. Do we choose to not live, or do we take a breath, and do we keep going and say, well, all I've got is the time I'm given, right? And so what are we going to do with that, right?
I'm going to get your books. I got some people I want to give them to that I think they might get something out of reading them, get a little inspiration, or learn to spread their wings a little, or learn to find where they need to or want to be in life.
Well, thank you. That's very honoring. And part of My Horse the Hummingbird and A Very Small Tiger, the small tiger is a woven finger puppet I bought from a child in Puno, Peru on Lake Titicaca. And he's the voice of your conscience in the story. And so it's very significant in terms of, I talk about going on pilgrimage, and you can do pilgrimage lots of different ways, but it's taking that time to really listen to yourself and figure out what you want to do. And
yeah, I have some people that need some inspiration. I think you are. I'm inspired just talking to you for a few minutes here. I'll tell you, note to our viewers, are these sold at all the regular places, Amita?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you go to Amazon, don't click and order one. Order 5 copies of the book. This great book with the artwork on it, because you're always having to go to a party or some celebration or something. So I like these stacks of books, and I give them away as host gifts or whatever. And
well, that is so kind, and so helpful for authors that aren't yet with big traditional publishers. And some of the best books I've ever written are books that have been given to me by friends that they have come across from amazing authors that have these stories that are true, and we always need that, that to hold ourselves in that higher place and move forward. And so that would be amazing. And there's information about my books and some more interviews, like specifically about different parts, on my website, and more of the work that I do there in terms of like with the Amazon and the rainforests and Amazon plants and things like that. And
we have your web address. I hope I got it right. rideswithfire.com?
Yeah.
We have it on the screen, so I recommend to our viewers, go there. Can they buy the book there?
I believe I only have an e-copy so far of the first Journey of Riches book, but I do have the e-copies on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and those places,
Well, I'm very inspired just talking to you, Amita. Any last thoughts you want to share with our viewers about your books or anything in the world?
I am going to be working on getting my books on Audible form, because I know that is so helpful for me. I listen to books on Audible when I'm busy doing other things, because you don't always have time to sit down and read as much as you would like. And so I am working on that, and working on starting some podcasts as well,
Good.
where there can be questions and answers, because I do a lot of work with people that have walked through difficulties. And to me, all of us are here to help each other, and how to move forward through things. And some of us have walked through certain challenges that other people can help us with, and vice versa. And through our writing and through our lives and our experiences. And I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to talk with you.
I will leave you with this, that my favorite Audible books are read with the author's voice. It just,
Yes.
the passion really comes through. You have a great voice. I hope you'll use your voice.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to read it myself. I think there's something that's missed sometimes when someone doesn't know the author or their work. And so, the author, they put themselves into their writing. It's part of who they are. And so when they're reading the piece, you feel it. You feel a deeper connection.
Way more emotion. Our guest is author Amita McBride. Go to her web address, rideswithfire.com. And don't go anywhere, because we'll be back with another author right after this.
Thank you so much.
That was great. Turn this one more thing to click here. That was great.
Hello, this is Hope Roski with Business, Arts, and Events. Well, today we're focused a little bit more on the business side right here, and we have Robert Ornelius Sr. and Jr. Welcome to the show.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Well, I know that we've been dealing with all of this hot weather, but soon winter is going to be upon us, and your business is absolutely crucial. Ash tree, AC, and chimney. And, people are going to start working their fireplaces here in this upcoming winter. And before people even get started, it's imperative to make sure, just like your car, that your fireplace is working correctly. So, Robert, how long have you been in the business?
So I got hired out of trade college in 2011. I got my degree in air conditioning heating, and I got my start at a local fireplace company in Clovis in 2011. So, yeah, it was a odd transition, because HVAC technician to fireplace chimney sweep, old school, Cinderella chimney sweep kind of thing.
So you've been at it for a while, and then Robert Jr., you've been apprenticing with your dad for how long?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. So you're getting some experience underneath your belt as well, which is great. One of the things, and when we talk about fireplace servicing, is the word fire in fireplace, because that is, for the most part, the biggest cause of the problem is people not maintaining correctly or things being installed incorrectly. Tell us about some of the things that you have observed and how people can be more proactive in making their fireplace safe.
So, born and raised in Fresno and Clovis area, grew up here on Belmont and Palm. In this area, Tower District, as well as Sunnyside and Oak Fig, we have a lot of open brick fireplaces. So a lot of people utilize them, and in their mind, they call out someone to sweep it every couple years if they want to utilize it. They just don't know that, unfortunately, locally, there's only a couple technicians that utilize cameras to inspect these fireplaces properly. Mm-hmm. So what we're finding is that people are using fireplaces, and then bad things are happening after. And then couple that with, there's a couple business here locally that install fireplaces improperly. So about 25% of the wood inserts in Fresno and Clovis are installed incorrectly. And what I mean by that is they cut appliances and slip wood inserts in and put a pipe up a certain amount of feet, and that can heat a chase and cause a fire, and it can spread to the attic and so on. So we've seen cases the last couple years where fire has spread to the attic and displaced customers. So what customers are supposed to do is have an inspection completed first. They, inspect it, service it, clean it, and then draft test it, and then the customer can utilize it with worry-free, So.
And one of the key things is what we call the inspection part of it. Robert Jr., what are some of the things that you do when you go in to look at an inspection? So what can a customer kind of understand what's going to happen?
First, inspecting the firebox to see if there's any cracks or any minor water damage from leaking inside the chimney. Looking at the top to see if there's any smoke damage, any smoke that's leaking out of the chimney.
Okay, so the inspection is key. And then once you see things, how are you documenting for the customer to be able to understand?
So what we do is we're pretty straightforward, and we try to be clear about business. We bring these, chim spec cameras that are designed by a chimney sweep back east in Iowa. What happens is the camera's inside. It's just like the plumbers and the well casing guys.
Sure.
We send the camera up the chimney and we go 360 and we show the client. That way, picture, video says 1,000 words.
Yes, it does.
And they can see if there's any cracks or breaks. And almost 99% of the fireplaces in Sunnyside, Old Fig, and Tower have cracks and breaks. So what happens, and this is the sad part, is a lot of other fireplace companies will go out and just sweep and clean and go on their way. They don't want to kill that revenue stream, so they don't tell the customer something's bad because they don't either know how to fix it or they don't have the equipment to inspect it properly. So, we're not in the business to make anyone look bad. We're in the business of taking care of people and reassuring them that if they use it, nothing bad happens. So we do terms of suitable and not suitable. It's not like it's going to burn the place down.
Right.
So suitable means you can utilize it. Not suitable is it has defects and we need to correct them.
Right,
So.
exactly. When you go in, when you replace it, is there a warranty with it, or does a customer know that maybe something that's being replaced going to only last a certain period of time?
So the awesome thing is I'm 44 years old. There's wood inserts that, they last 40 to 60 years.
And that's a good stretch.
and there's some open fireplace repairs that as long as you service it every year, and we do one of those repairs, we fix the inside of broken and cracked chimneys. And they do lifetime warranties, and not the lawyer kind of lifetime, like 7 years. I mean, like the lifetime of the chimney sweeps.
Sure.
So what we tell clients when we do repairs is, as long as I'm alive or my son, the warranty's honored, and we do repairs in that fashion. Now, there's appliances, the wood stoves, wood inserts, gas fireplace, and pellet. Usually the mechanical motor systems have a year, 2 years warranty, but every situation is different based on the retailer, and there's several here in town that are pretty reputable and do a good job. Unfortunately, like I said, there's just a couple companies here that don't install them properly, and that whole passing the buck thing where you buy something from someone and they pass the buck to a subcontractor to install it, and that's what most people do. The problem is these installers are not fireplace guys.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Well, that's good information for a customer to know. So, Robert Jr., I have to ask you this. So sometimes in a fireplace, we may hear little animals kind of crawling around. Have you come into contact with any friends up in the fireplace area?
Yeah, we pulled out the cat. What was his name? Casper?
Oh, my goodness, you rescued a cat. Okay.
Yeah, a 6-pound cat named Casper. It took us about 45 minutes to get him out.
But that's wonderful to know that. I mean, and that happens because they can get stuck, and other animals as well can get in and come down, and so that's good to know that you know how to handle that as well. That's a big part of it. One of the other things too is because you've been in the business in the valley for a while, we are an expansive valley, so where do you travel from? What are your points of destination?
So we're based out of Fresno, but we go from Bakersfield to Sacramento, Coalinga to Human, wherever we're called to. There's fees and so on associated with, but we've been in every city in this Central Valley, and we love to go out in the mountains. That's where most of our customers are: Prather, Auberry, Shaver, Huntington, Big Creek, Hume Lake, Yokups Valleys, Miramonte, and places like that. So we travel everywhere. We have a lot of experience. I have over 5,000 systems under my belt. So my thing with fireplaces is we love to sweep and clean them, but we want to inspect them properly. The cleaning doesn't really do anything if the system is defective and can cause something bad to happen.
Sure, and it's like if you think about detailing your automobile, you can wash the car on the outside, but if you don't get under the engine and start cleaning it, then there can be some problems that build up, just like your fireplace, because look, you have the camera and you have the device to be able to see up and in there and know how to correct all of that. I know you have some amazing customers that you wanted to give a shout out to, so I wanted to give you that opportunity to do that.
I appreciate that. So Ashtray AC and Chimney is going to be transitioning. I'm actually going to go part-time appointment only in 2025, 2026. My son is going to be taking over the servicing and inspecting through his own business. So, I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple families, the Davis Preheim family in Big Creek. They're my first customers. We appreciate your continued business, and they're moving along with us as well. Also, I wanted to get a shout out to Mike Musing and Prather Narberry. He's one of our first customers as well. Really respected, and Mrs. Lynn, and also Mr. Stegmeyer here. In the Tower District area, and to all the families out there, we appreciate your business. Unfortunately, I've been kind of hit by the illness bug. I'm one of those weird immunocompromised people. I caught COVID 5 times this last 2.5 years. So fatigue and long COVID symptoms kind of set in. So I love my job. It's just the inconsistency of health has kind of had me step back and kind of, resituate. But we're still doing work, and my son has been helping me full time the last 1.5 and 2, and he's very qualified. We have the most nationally, recognized certified company in the Central Valley as far as CSIA, NSCG, HVAC excellence certificates. So everything that I've learned, I've kind of, instilled and downloaded into my son, and we're still learning every day, and I'm still learning every day. We're human, so we want to continue education and learn. So.
Well, I just think it's wonderful that you have a father-son business going. And Robert Jr., how do you feel about your taking over your dad's business?
I'm really thankful and I'm really grateful that all this is happening. And it's pretty fun, like going on jobs every day. It's like a little adventure. So.
And it would be, because you never know what you're going to find. So every day brings something new. Well, I am so glad that both of you were able to come on the show. I wish your health was better, but it looks like you're in great hands with your son, Robert Jr., but you're still, your dad's still going to be along for part of this, right? Okay, good. All righty. Well, again, folks, if you remember, it is getting time for you to get your fireplaces checked. So again, please reach out to Robert at Ash Tree. Can you give them your phone number, and how else they can find you as well?
Yeah, so we answer the phone at all hours. I got a call last night at 11:30 for a heating appliance, 559-283-3386. We go, to places late at night. I got a call to go to Chowchilla at, I think, midnight about a month ago for a realtor. So we work with customers, and we love to travel. So.
That's fabulous. Well, I wish you both well. And again, folks, remember, keep that fireplace safe, because nobody wants to have an aftermath of what a faulty fireplace can do. This is Hope Roski with Business, Arts, and Events. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Briggs on Books, where we talk to authors from all over the world about their books and their process. But I'm more excited about something else right now, because look, it's World Champagne Day is coming up October 25th, I think. So in honor of that, we invited our good friend, the author, back on the show, the author of Champagne Widows. Please welcome Rebecca Rosenberg.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited about Champagne Day.
Yeah, is that a holiday? Do you call it a holiday?
It is a holiday. It's a world holiday. Like, you can get online and you can look at World Champagne Day, and you can find all the events that are going on all over the world. And of course, since I write about Champagne and I've traveled to Champagne so often, I get pretty excited about this.
And by the way, for our viewers, we're going to talk to Rebecca about these two books in a moment, about Champagne Widows. But I want to talk a little more about Champagne Day. What do we have here? We have 3 different kinds of champagne.
Actually, I was going to show you these because this is a fun idea for Champagne Day, is to, if you're not really astute about champagne, then you can try different kinds. So this is a Brut champagne, and that one I'm going to tell you about from Madame Pommery, who invented Brut, and that's the dry, light champagne that we mostly drink. Yeah. Or if you like something a little more complicated and a little richer on your palate, which is really nice in the fall, then you can do a Blanc de Noir. And then finally, like, my husband loves the lightest champagne, and this is one that you probably have had at parties, and it's called Blanc de Blanc. And Blanc de Blanc is made from Chardonnay grapes only. So that's the differences here, is what grapes are they made with. this one, the Blanc de Noir, it's from Pinot Noir grapes.
Right.
And then the Brut is a mix of all three. So something fun for this Champagne Day would be to try each one of those types of champagne.
I might have to have a champagne week to get through all of those. Now, do you drink champagne just by itself, or would you have it with a meal or with a dessert?
Drink champagne by itself. But I'll tell you the best, very fun snack to have with it, and everyone usually has it, which is potato chips.
Ah, nice.
Because it's salty, so anything salty tastes fantastic with champagne.
With champagne.
Of course, if you happen to have some caviar on the potato chips, all the better.
Yeah. I usually don't have that in the pantry.
No, me either.
What about now, champagne is always made where?
Well, champagne is always made in Champagne, France. And I'm going to get into the woman who started it all in 1800s, and that is Veuve Clicquot. And Veuve means widow. So she was the widow Clicquot who in 1800 defied Napoleon and defied all the laws to do her own champagne company. And this is the book about her called Champagne Widows. She was amazing because she was only 24 and women were not even allowed to run businesses.
Yeah.
And she persevered through 15 years of Napoleon's wars to create her champagne. And her champagne in those days was extremely sweet. Although the Veuve Clicquot that you have today has gotten to be drier, thank goodness, because I don't think we've even tasted champagne as sweet as Veuve Clicquot did. So the cool story behind her is that she was born with an extraordinary sense of smell, and it was called le nez, the nose. And through that, she discovered that she could make incredible champagne that people loved. And so she defied the laws, as I said, by actually shipping whole ships full of champagne to Russia while we were at war. Not we, but the French were at war with Russia. So she was a really super gutsy gal.
Yeah.
And I just love her, from 1800.
And people don't realize these people actually existed. Is that right?
I think that that's the great thing, is we take this for granted. Oh, you can go buy a bottle of champagne, but she persevered so much. They had pandemics just like we have. They had these 15 years of war. All the men were being killed in war, and so she had to train all the women who weren't even used to working at that point how to make this champagne. And she really revolutionized how champagne was made in a lot of ways.
Now, I have this picture you sent me of the three. I want to talk about your books, I promise. There's three different kinds of champagne. It almost looks like they're in a set. Is that a certain brand?
So that is okay, so you asked where champagne is from, and it's from Champagne, France. But here in California, or anywhere in the world, you can get sparkling wine. And what's different about this, which is breathless wines, is that it's made in the method champenois. So it's made in the exact method with the exact grapes that they do in France. So it tastes very similar to champagne. In fact, we have fun at Breathless Wines by doing a taste-off between a blind tasting between this sparkling wine, we have to call it sparkling wine, compared to the champagne. And last year we did really well, so that was a lot of fun. So you could try that to celebrate Champagne Day too. You could have a bottle of less expensive sparkling wine. This typically would sell for $30.
Yeah.
And this one is going to be more like $65, $70, so twice as much. And see if you can tell the difference between them.
You sent me the image with the three, and I zoomed in here. Breathless Wines. I know what to ask for.
Yes, Breathless Wines. You can go on their website and you can see all of their, in fact, they just won the huge Harvest Fair sweepstakes as the #1 sparkling wine in all of California. So that was a huge deal that just happened a couple of days ago.
That's
well, that's
exciting.
my house. I call this my house champagne, and I'm one of their best. I don't own the company. It's a friend of mine, and I buy so much of it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to order some as soon as we get off the air here, and Breathless Wines. Little plug for them.
All right.
Let's go back to the books. We talked a little bit about your first book, and here's the cover again, Champagne Widows. And then your other book, second book, I'd say, yeah, here's the cover. I have the cover.
One is about Madame Pommery, and she has a totally different story. Here's her beautiful champagne, Pommery. And you can visit these places right now in France. I've visited Champagne probably 6 times now and led various tours through Champagne. It's like a Disneyland for people who love champagne. So Madame Pommery came along 60 years after Veuve Clicquot, and she was a 40-year-old widow, and she had to support her daughter and her son, and she had no skills at all. And she just said, well, if Veuve Clicquot could do it, then I can do it. And so she started late in life, and she didn't have the money that Veuve Clicquot had either. And she came up with an idea to make dry champagne. And so this is the first brut that ever existed, is Pommery. And now, really, throughout the country, we only drink brut. So we really credit her for changing the taste of champagne from a super sugary, sweet drink to something dry and light and effervescent.
Were these two women contemporaries, or were they at different time frames?
They lived in the same town, and Veuve Clicquot, in this book, Veuve Clicquot has a couple of appearances because she was an older woman by then. I think she was 80 at the time that Madame Pommery was getting her winery together, but she did encourage her. So it was fun. It was fun to put those two characters together. And I'm in the middle of writing a third Champagne Widows book, so we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah. Well, for our viewers, in honor of Worldwide Champagne Day, October 25th, order these books. And by the way, I don't know if I've said this when I was talking to you, but I've got the habit, I encourage our viewers to do this. When you go to Amazon or wherever you decide to get the book, don't just click one time, click 5 times and order 5 copies. I always have to go to people's houses for dinner, and I always take a gift, so I've been gifting books. So.
Oh, that's a great idea,
always
especially with a bottle of champagne or a bottle of sparkling wine.
In fact,
they sell a lot of Champagne Widows books in wineries, as you can imagine.
Yeah, great. Now, okay, World Champagne Day, October 25th. 2 of the books are out. We have the covers. Oh, here's your web address too, Rebecca-Rosenberg.com. What would our viewers find there?
Well, you'll find more about my other books. I have written 7 books, and more about Champagne Widows and Madame Pommery, and lots of videos and stories and things like that. But you can buy, the easiest place to buy these books is on Amazon, or you can order it from your local bookstore.
Yeah. I like to go to my local bookstore and say, do you have Champagne Widows? I'd like to read that. And I get them into the bookstore. So.
Well, thank you, Mike. That's fantastic. Actually, if you have a Kindle, if you have an e-reader, right now these books for World Champagne Day are $5.
Wow. Yeah.
For a Kindle. So
amazing.
Usually they're $10, so they're half price for that day.
Yeah. On Father's Day, I got a Kindle from my kids, and it's still wrapped in the packaging. I haven't even taken it out, but maybe this will be an excuse to get it out and learn how to use a Kindle.
Well, you should make them set it up for you, and then you'll use it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Rebecca, any last thoughts for our viewers on the books or champagne?
Celebrate World Champagne Day, and I feel like it's celebrating joy and sharing time together, and we need more of that right now.
Yeah. And yet another excuse to drink some champagne.
There you go. Thank you, Mike.
All right, our guest is Rebecca Rosenberg, and I might get the link to that winery and put it when we post this, so because I want to go to that winery and buy some
It's
champagne.
breathlesswines.com.
Breathlesswines.com. Very good. Our guest has been Rebecca Rosenberg, author of the Champagne Widows novels, and there's another one coming out. I can't wait. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming on the show. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere. We're going to have another author right after this. Welcome back to Briggs on Books. Are you about to pick the next read for the fall or for the winter? Hey, I've got a trilogy. I love a trilogy. I've got a trilogy here for you, and it is the Reaper, the Sower, and Judgment Day. Not only do I have the books here, but guess what? I've got the author as well. Welcome, Rob Young. Hello, Rob.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Tell our viewers where you are.
I am in St. Paul, Minnesota, actually in a southern suburb of St. Paul.
Now, this series, this trilogy, is it a trilogy?
Yes.
And the most recent one to come out, I guess, is The Judgment. Well, tell us about the whole trilogy.
The trilogy started because of a painting that disappeared from the 1937 Paris World Exposition by an avant-garde artist named Joan Moreau. I've been a Moreau fan all my adult life, and my wife and I were in Barcelona and went to a Moreau museum and learned about this painting that disappeared. And from that painting, which still has never been found, arose the story, the Reaper, which was the English translation of the name of the painting. I started it out thinking I was writing a standalone book, and when I got to the end, I realized it wasn't over. So I wrote a sequel, and then when I got about 50 pages into the sequel, I realized there was a third story involved. So it ended up being a trilogy.
The Reaper, the Sower, and Judgment Day. Does the cover represent the painting?
The cover, if you look closely at the cover of the Reaper, the painting, the cover is actually a picture frame with a Reaper-type character holding a dripping paintbrush. But the background behind the picture frame is actually the Reaper itself, the actual picture of the Reaper.
Yeah, I just zoomed in on that. It's amazing. I see now. I love book covers that kind of have these hidden Easter eggs or whatever you want to call them. Now, yeah. When did you start the series and when did you finish?
I started the series in, let's see, probably about 2017, and The Reaper was published in 2019. Mm-hmm. And then I finished it with Judgment Day, which just was released in April of this year, I think, something like that.
I think our producers stumbled upon that book and said, we got to get this guy on. It's fascinating story. So would you say it's historical fiction or is it a straight novel?
No, I tend to cross genres. So the first book, The Reaper, is actually two novellas under one cover. Nice. The first half of it is historical fiction, what happened the last week of the 1937 Paris World Exposition. Mm-hmm. And then the second half of the book fast forwards to 2009 and how that missing painting, still missing, impacts the life of a struggling artist from St. Paul, Minnesota, and his powerful but estranged mother.
Okay.
That's the theme. The conflict between mother and son is the theme through the rest of the trilogy.
Well, let's stick on that. So the painter's in Minnesota. I want to go to this, and you're in Minnesota, and there's an event you have once a month, I think. Is it the third Monday?
Yep. It's called Minnesota Mystery Night. We pull in top mystery or thriller writers, put them in conversation with somebody very interesting, and we just have a very wonderful evening. We have a great venue. It seats about 80 people. We pack it every Monday that we're there, And we're bringing in some national authors now. Tracy Clark from Chicago is going to come in. We've had Nick Petrie from Milwaukee working on Don Winslow, although he's not writing anymore, but hopefully he'll be back to that.
So this is mostly a live event, or can people attend remotely?
No, it is a live event, but come the first of the year, it is going to be a radio show also.
Well, that's great. Yeah, by the way, I put on the screen www.mnmysterynight.com. So that stands for Minnesota Mystery Night?
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. It's great that's happening in your community. Now, these books that we're talking about today, those are not your first. I stumbled upon another one here. Let's see, about the Cold War. No, Cloud Warriors.
Cloud Warriors.
I keep saying Cold War. It's Cloud Warriors, a paranormal thriller. Tell us a little bit about that.
Everything I write starts, it is set in the modern day, but starts with some historical event that's true. And the historical event that underpins Cloud Warriors is a confederation of small tribes that lived at the very top of the Andes Mountains at the time of the Incans. And the Incans called them the Chachapoyas, which is a Quechua word, Indian Quechua word. If you translate it to English, it's either cloud people or cloud warriors. What makes them unique is that the people in this conglomeration of tribes had the same complexion, eye color, and hair color as you do, which is a little odd for that part of the world. And so I took that historical fact and turned it into a story that, in essence, is my fictional rant against the greed of the pharmaceutical industry.
Holy cow. Now, since your books are partly based on real things, I love that World's Fair and Spain and everything. You have to do a lot of research?
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of what I love.
Yeah.
I've got two in the works right now, one set in Ireland and one set in Galena, Illinois. Galena fictionally, in this case. I'll think a different name up for it. But both of which are I've basically stumbled over while I was traveling. So now I've got to go back to both places and do some on-the-ground research for both of them.
You have to go to Ireland?
Yep.
Pretty tough duty, Rob.
Well, I found it on a trip to Ireland in 2016, and so we're going to go back and do that again, hopefully next spring. But that's a book that I've been wanting to write for a long time.
Now let me ask you these. I have your, of course, the Minnesota Mystery Night, mnmysterynight.com, but we also have robyoungwriter.com. It's Jung, by the way, Rob Young Writer. What would people find if they visit your website?
Well, they'll find my books, of course. They will find information about Minnesota Mystery Night. They will find my monthly newsletter, which is called The View from Middle Spunk Creek, which is sort of my tongue-in-cheek look at the world. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can sign up for the Minnesota Mystery Night distribution list. You can sign up for my books. You'll see my schedule. That's sort of the standard stuff that's on all authors' websites. Yeah. So pretty much that. Anything new coming out.
I would guess your books are available at all the usual places.
That's correct. Yeah, you can get them online. You can get them through my website. You can get them at probably in California. You'd have to order them from your bookstore where you're located, but they're all available from Ingram, which is the world's biggest book distributor. So.
Yes. Now, what formats? Are paperback, I'd imagine?
Paperback and ebooks. And the first book, The Reaper, will be out in audio by before the first of the year. I'm hoping to make it in time for the Christmas market, but
good. Reaper will be out in audio. I got to tell you, Rob, for us old guys, that audio is great. Those words on the pages are getting smaller and smaller, so I'm really doing half my reading on ebooks now, or on audiobooks, I should say.
Yeah. My wife belongs to 4 book clubs, and she listens to a lot of audiobooks because of that, because she can do it while she's doing other things.
Yeah, I go to the gym, I'm driving my car, listen to my wife nag me. I got that ebook going, so all the time. Rob,
you're a brave man to say that for publication.
Well, she doesn't watch my show, so I'm pretty
Oh,
sick.
okay.
So.
Well, you're all right. Okay.
Now, we're past time. You're a fascinating guy. I'd love to talk to you all day. Just any last thoughts? I'll give you a minute. You want to talk anything about your books or things going on in the world or anything authors and readers should know?
I just have a request of all your listeners, and that is arises out of the difficulty of indie writers, independent writers who aren't backed by the big marketing thing of getting their books known. So if you find an author or a book that you really like when you read it, tell your friends. Don't give them your copy because that doesn't help the author any or the publishing company.
Yeah.
And put up, if you can, put a review on Amazon or Goodreads or BookBub or any of those places online that you can put on. Those are the lifeblood of an indie author in terms of getting their books recognized. That, of course, and podcasts like yours.
Tell me about the review. Do they just click like, or do they need to type a sentence? Do they need to type several paragraphs? What's the best way?
You can well, it depends upon which one you're going on. Remember that if you want to put a review on Amazon, you have to have purchased $50 through Amazon of something in the last 12 or 24 months. Otherwise, you can't post. But if you do that, you can just click a number. There's 1 through 5 rated.
Okay.
Or you can add a written review, which can be 1 sentence or half a book, because there's no limit.
Okay, good.
I'm sure they trim it. Other ones have different requirements. Some that require something written. Some you can just rate the book.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that, because what does it take? I've read a book. I've spent hours and hours and hours. I could take a minute out to. I click on Goodreads a lot and rate books there, but I guess you could rate them right on Amazon as well. I certainly spend $50 a month on Amazon. I should get that right.
Yeah. Well, the more reviews, more good reviews you get on Amazon, of course, the more you make their algorithm happy, and your book gets higher up on the list of shows. So.
Yeah, and there's, I know we're past time, they're giving me the signal, but there's millions, literally millions of books out there. So
1.6 million every year, roughly.
Wow. Thank you, Rob. I hope you'll come back again and again. You're a fascinating guest.
I would love to come back. Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
And I'm going to go look at your websites right now because they seem very interesting. Thank you, Rob. And for our viewers, stick around. We're going to have another author right after this. Welcome back to Briggs on Books. Check out this book every other weekend. Hey, a fascinating book, fascinating story. Not only do we have the book here, though, but we also have the author. If I can find him here, there he is. Welcome, Judge Anthony J. Moore. Welcome, Judge.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's great to be here.
Now, you were a judge. Are you retired from that?
I'm retired, although I still sit part-time. We can do that in California.
Nice, very nice. Now, by the way, your book, and here's the cover again, every other weekend. This talks about your growing up years mostly, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Can you tell us a little bit of the story?
Well, basically, it's coming of age first with my own father until about the age of 9, when he divorced my mother and married a woman from Sweden. They met when he was working over there for a year on a TV series. He had actually moved the whole family there, so I met her too. Of course, I had no idea they would end up together, which they did. And then it's the second part of the book is one weekend with my dad and his new wife, one weekend with my mother and her new husband.
Wow.
And they were very different people, very different men. So it's really two different cultures as I move through my teens. And the book pretty much ends at the end of high school.
Tell us what your dad did.
He was an actor. He was first on radio and very well known on radio. He played Philip Marlowe. He played something like 400 or 500 radio plays. They called him the Iron Duke because he never flubbed his lines. And then he managed to get into television. He appeared as a feature star on a lot of Westerns. You can almost name the Western, he'd be in it. And then he wanted his own series, but that never happened. And his career really never got back to where it was in radio. But at the same time, Stan, my stepdad, was a very kind of conservative, disciplined businessman. And he had a company that made the imprinters and the embossers for credit cards. So he was in on the beginning of the whole credit card industry, thanks to Bank of America, a guy there named Joe Williams, who was the vice president, who engaged Stan to put together the machinery that made these credit cards usable in the market. So Stan's career was soaring. My father's career was drifting downward slowly.
Now, your stepdad, did he step in and play a fatherly role?
He did. He did. With a very different style from my father. Yeah. Stan was very by the book. The kids have to work. The kids have to learn how to, make their way in life. And my father was kind of a bon vivant, nice guy. Lots of women liked him. Whether or not he was married, lots of women liked him, and he liked them. Yeah. And he was a very different person.
Now, you look about my age, I'm 65. When I was a kid, there were not a lot of divorces.
No. And I'm, over 10 years older than you.
Okay.
When I was a kid, there were very few divorces. It was scandalous.
Yeah. And so, that had to be shocking. Now, did your dad stay in Switzerland? Did he come back? And
we came back from Sweden. Once the series was over. And he stayed here. But he always wanted to work half-time in Europe and half-time here. He always wanted to be the international man of mystery and happily work on both sides of the ocean. I've got a letter from him that says that. And he went back a couple of times to try to make pilots for series, but they just didn't work out. And in fact, when he died, it was in Sweden. He had just literally wrapped another pilot called Private Entrance. And I've got the pilot. I've seen it. I don't know if it would have made it to the screen. I really don't. It was interesting, but I'm not sure it would have made it.
Yeah. Now, when I first looked you up, I have a staff who goes out and looks for the most interesting authors they could find. They say, hey, here's a judge who wrote his memoir. And I thought, too boring. We don't want to talk to him about being a judge. But no, it's fascinating. I told you before we came out on the air, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to read it very, very soon. So,
well, thank you. I was tempted to write a book about judging. And I've read a number of books judges have written, and a lot of them are very plodding and turgid. They really are. I tried a car accident case. I tried a trip and fall at Kmart, whatever. That said, I'd love to write a book about judging, but hopefully spice it up and make it a little more compelling.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and when I first started reading the outlines of your book, I thought it was a novel. It was a made-up story, but it's the real deal, right?
It's the real deal. Yeah. It's the real deal, taking place in L.A. and Sherman Oaks and mostly in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills. Now you got to meet some other famous people?
I met lots of people on the B list where my dad was. For example, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce has an annual Christmas parade, and we were in it. And so I rode in the car with my father a couple of times. And then there's a parade party at actually a car garage on Hollywood Boulevard. And you begin there and you end there once you've gone down the line of march. And I met all sorts of people: Soupy Sales, Jimmy Dodd, Shelley Fabre, who I had a crush on, Buster Keaton. I met him there. Brod Crawford, who was a good buddy of my dad's. I've got an incident about Crawford in the book. I met Evelyn Rudy, who I also had a crush on. What can I tell you? It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And they were all very nice people. I don't remember anybody being a jerk. They were lovely, lovely people.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Now, let me ask you this about your book. By the way, I'll put the cover up again every other weekend. Coming of age with two different dads.
Right.
What formats are the book? I saw it on hardcover, certainly paperback.
Hardcover, paperback, and Kindle.
Kindle. Any thoughts of an audiobook?
I've thought about it. I haven't done it yet. What do you think? Should I or shouldn't I?
Us older people, it's getting harder and harder to read those words on the page. So I love audiobooks. So
I guess, and a couple of my friends have said, if you do an audio, I'll read the book. I'm lucky. My eyesight is good. I can read without glasses. I use glasses for distance, but that's it. Yeah. So I really haven't seen the need. But yeah, maybe I'll sit down and bite the bullet and do an audio.
I recommend you using your voice. You've got a great voice too. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, I guess things, we don't want you to tell the whole story, but things must have turned out. You got through law school, you became a judge.
I was lucky. I mean, look, both of the fathers had their faults, and lots of them, and I wrote about that in the book. But, you know, my father, as one reviewer said, a lady who wrote a review in Hippocampus magazine, which is a great literary journal. It's all about memoir, and it's worth reading online. And she wrote, if it weren't for my father, I never, I probably never would have written the book. If it weren't for my stepfather, I never would have become a judge. And with both of them together, you know, I kind of learned one way or another to navigate two different cultures. And it really was two different cultures.
Yeah.
In many ways, it was like spending one weekend in, in Serbia and the other weekend in Ghana or someplace like that. Just two very different attitudes and cultures. My mother, initially I was not going to write about her, but she kept coming into the book and, finding her way into every chapter, almost every chapter. And then I began to realize she was the person, who ran interference with me, the glue that kept me going. In many ways, she rescued me. So my mother really helped out and was indispensable, and I still miss her. She died, 30 years ago, the day I became a judge, actually.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Still miss her a lot.
Now, we have your web address on the screen. What will our viewers, if they go to your web page, what are they going to find there?
Oh, they'll see, of course, a picture of the cover.
Yeah.
They'll see some blurbs. A number of people I got in touch with were happy to blurb the book, so you'll see all of those. There are links to other essays I've written, which have come out in other literary magazines. The ones that came out in print magazines, I don't have links to because they don't link. But the ones from the online journals are there, and
that's nice.
I would encourage anybody to read them. They're essays that didn't make it into the book.
Now, we have your web address on the screen, Anthony J. Mohr, MOHR.com. And
Correct.
For our viewers, I'll give you a hint. If you're looking up Anthony, put the J in there. You find him much easier. Amazon is Anthony J. Mohr and different things like that. By the way, I went to Amazon. Book's so easy to find. Kindle, it says it's on Kindle. That popped right up. And by the way, who's going to read this book?
If somebody is interested in parenting and divorce, it's a case study. If somebody's interested in old Hollywood, from the late 50s through the early 60s, that's the background of the book. It's set there. And I'm trying to give it a sense of place.
Yeah.
So I would say read the book. You're not going to read about the A-list people because I didn't know them. Many of them, by the way, had children in school with me, but I wasn't that aware of who they were, nor were other people. And the fact that Danny Kaye's daughter was there, so what? Dina was a nice girl, but we all didn't think, oh, there's Danny Kaye's daughter.
Yeah.
The same for Lee J. Cobb's daughter or Joey Bishop's kid. They were just good kids that we knew around the school. Julie Cobb became, I think, our basketball homecoming princess. But that was on her own merits, not on who Lee J. Cobb was. But you'll see a lot of references, again, to the B-list, to people who were, not in the background, but certainly not the ones picking up the Academy Awards. Yeah. So you'll see that. And it's a baby boomer book.
Yep. Yeah. Anybody likes to read about that period, which I do, I'm surely will enjoy this book. And if anybody go to Amazon or go to Judge Mohr's website, and they have these little blurbs on the book. Once you read that, you're going to be hooked on needing and wanting to read it because it got me very quickly. So whoever's preparing that, probably you, because you're the writer, it's a good little blurb about what the book's about. Judge Mohr, Anthony J. Mohr. We're out of time. We've gone over time. They're signaling me. Any last thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers about anything?
Well, again, thanks for having me on. I will tell you I enjoyed writing the book. There were times when it was very painful to write the book because I didn't spare a number of, sad experiences. But there were times I really had fun writing it because I wrote about some lovely times I had with my stepbrother, stepsister, stepfather, real father. And it was wonderful mining all those memories and getting them onto the page as best I could.
That's great. That's fun. You got another book in you, Judge?
I don't know. As I said, I've thought about writing maybe about what it's like to be a judge, but I want it to be different from the ones that, it's not just one trial, one trial, one trial. It's other things that go on. And I've also thought about maybe another book, lighting up the community where I came of age, but turning the lens away from the family. I've thought about that, but stay tuned because I'm not quite sure where the next one will come from.
All right, our guest is Anthony J. Moore. Just go to his website, anthonyjmoore.com. What an easy website. What a creative web address you have. And go to Amazon. Wherever you buy books, you'll find the book. And thank you, Judge, for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. You take care.
And for our viewers, don't go anywhere because we'll be back with another author right after this. Welcome back to Central Valley Talk, where we celebrate what's good about Fresno. It's not just Fresno, it's our whole area that so many things going on that are good, and we want you to know about them. We often invite in our regular guests, Trustee Keisha Thomas, who's on the Fresno School Board.
Yes, I am.
And that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but I'm also Executive Director for FCDI, and I work with the Fresno Metro Black Chamber. And so I love my community, and so I just work with my community and do my thing.
Yeah.
That's right.
The Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce has, sometimes they've been very active, sometimes not so active, but right now it's a great time. Great things are going on.
There are great things going on. We are super active with the community. As a matter of fact, just to jump a little bit ahead, March 1st, we will have a barbecue cook-off. So that'll be something fun for community just to come out and see the Fresno Metro Black Chamber and tap in and see what we're doing big out there. But meantime,
what day is that?
That's March 1st.
March 1st,
Yep,
okay.
March 1st.
You got a couple months.
So I'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Put it on your calendar now, though, March for barbecue.
And if you think you can barbecue, you're welcome to join the contest.
It'll be a competition.
Heck yes.
Fresno has a lot of good barbecue.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Not quite like Texas, but we do pretty good.
Now tell me about some of these initiatives, BizWorks, AV Works, stuff like that. That's with the chamber, right?
It is with the chamber, and we are doing some phenomenal work. Dr. Little is the CEO of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber, and over the last 5 years, we've been working on a transportation, not only policy to make sure we have enough bike lanes, but we've also been working to make sure community has a different source of transportation. So we have electric cars and electric bicycles.
Now, are you guys the ones responsible for all these bike lanes?
Yes. Well, not responsible because we have other people that.
Yeah,
but we have been champions of the bike lanes.
People have complained to me about those. I go, no, these came about after years of study and years of public hearings and public input and things things don't just happen because
not overnight.
New council member was elected and there's all these bike lanes or reconfigured roadways. This is years and years of study, preparation. There's demand for them, otherwise they wouldn't be there.
Well, it's also safety, right?
Also some money came along.
And some money came
just
along.
at the right time.
But it's also a lot about safety, and people will see the transition over the next few years. There will be fewer lanes, like if you look down Palm. Remember, Palm used to be a 2-lane.
Yeah.
Now it's a 1-lane. It's number one, used to kind of slow down traffic, so leave a little bit earlier. Number two, that's a school zone.
Right.
And we've had so many fatalities with students going to and from school that we're just trying to create a more student-based space for transportation and for them to travel.
Also, there's houses facing Palm.
And there's houses.
And people backing out of the driveways and stuff. Anyway, it's slowed traffic, it's created spaces, it's created the bike lanes. We all complain about anything new anyway. So.
Why would we want to be different? Why would we want to catch up to the new times, right?
But thank you, by the way. Thank you. I know you didn't do it yourself, but it took a collaborative of the community.
It did. And quite frankly, all this is a mindset change. So let's just talk about the mindset change. So I want to talk about the bikes with BizWorks really quickly. So they're electric bicycles. They go about 16 miles an hour. I rode one for 26 miles. I just wanted to see how far it was going to go, and it did very well.
That's a lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles. I rode the bike all over Fresno. And number two, I wanted to really see what are the dangers associated with bicycling. So that was the other part. I was very safe for the most part. There were some spaces that needed bike lanes that I had to travel in. So that made me a little bit nervous. But these bikes are used for clean air. Our air quality is horrible in Fresno. And so it also is helping at the city colleges because we put bikes at City College and bikes at West Fresno City College. So now there's kind of a corridor for students to be able to travel back and forth with these bicycles.
Will they sometimes have a class downtown and then a class at City College?
That's right. It does happen. And so that now they don't have to really wait for the bus or the system that they have through the school. They can hop on a bike and go.
The bikes are sitting there waiting.
They're sitting there waiting for them. It's about I think it's $4 a day and 25 cents an hour, a mile or something like that. But at the end of the day, $4 for transportation is good, and you can ride it as long as you need to for the day. And the bike is an awesome ride. It's an awesome ride.
Now, does the person who gets off the bike and they're done with it, do they plug it in, or does somebody come along and do that?
No, we take care of all the charging. You don't have to worry about charging. The only thing we ask is that, number one, you download the BizWorks, BizWerx app on your phone. You unlock it with your phone, and you lock it back up and take a picture and send it back to us to tell us, hey, I used the bicycle, but it's safe. Yeah. It's safe and it's locked.
Now, it's an app on the phone, I would imagine.
It is, yes.
And by the way, we have your web address, fmbcc.com, Fresno Metro Black Chamber Commerce.com.
Yes.
Can they find out more about all that there?
Yeah, actually, absolutely. And it's right there on the screen. If you go to programs and you go to BizWorks or EVWorks, it'll tell you all about the program. Now I want to transition a little bit, and I want to talk about the cars. The cars are amazing.
Is that EVWorks?
Yes, the EVWorks. So these are all electric vehicles, and we have them at the hub. We have many of them are at the chamber, and you can, again, download your app, you sign up, we check your DMV record, and as long as you have no major infractions over the last 6 months, you're good. You don't need a major credit card.
Once you signed up once, you're okay.
That's it. As long as you take care of the cars, because we will kick you out of the club. If you don't take care of the cars, we'll kick you out of the club. But you download the app, you sign up. It only takes a few days for you to be okay to ride in the cars. And I call it ride share on steroids. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing ride. We have EUVs, we have EVs, and then we have Teslas. So these are Chevys, are the EUVs and the Bolts, and then we have the Teslas. So you have a nice ride either way. And so we have people that, may not have a car, they may not be able to afford a car, they pay $35 for the day, and that even takes care of the insurance. Yeah. That's everything.
Now, where would they drive to? I mean, who would need this?
Oh my goodness. Anybody without transportation, or you're trying to drive something, you may not have a credit card to go to Enterprise or whatever, those are the people who may not have a car that need transportation. This is really for people to be able to move to the next space. However, you can book the car as long as you need it. So I have families that have never been on vacation with each other. I had one family ask me about the cars, and I told her how to sign up. She said, my sister and I and our kids have never been on vacation together.
They didn't have a car.
They needed a car.
Usually you have a car, but you don't want to drive it to San Francisco or something.
They didn't have a car.
Yeah. Okay.
So, this is a chance for them to they went to the beach.
Wow.
They sent pictures back. So it's these really feel-good spaces that make us feel good about what we're doing in the community, because this is with the community, for the community, and by the community.
I know a lot of people who take the bus.
Right.
But that grocery day is the hardest day of their week. So that'd be a good candidate.
For $5 an hour or $35 a day, you use the cars, you go do what you have to do, and you bring it back. And I actually have people that book weekly. Like once a week, this young lady, she has places she needs to go. She needs to go shopping for her kids, and then she brings the car back.
Now, what about, let's say I go to the beach.
Okay.
Is the car going to be uncharged? I don't know what the terminology is. Do I
well,
have to plug it in somewhere?
Absolutely. You have to put gas in your car, don't you?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with your electric vehicle. You have to stop and charge it somewhere.
Yeah.
And it only takes a few minutes.
I couldn't find a spot.
Yes, and that's why you need to you need to make sure that you have mapped out. You need to pre-map your venture, right? Which, when we have gas, we start running low. We're like, oh my God, where's the gas station? Oh, there's one. It's not that easy with charging.
Yeah.
So yes, you might get a little frailed about charging, but as long as you make sure you take care of like where you're going, when you're going, and where you need to charge, you should be fine.
This is extraordinary.
It is. It's amazing. I need you to come by. You know what?
I'm coming.
Yeah, you got to come by.
Where is this hub? Where are the cars?
It's at the chamber, the Fresno Metro Black Chamber at 1600 Fulton Street. and all the cars are there. And I would love to have you come by and we just go for a ride, and I'll download you and we'll get you all hooked up.
So I could get a car. Can I walk to City College? It's right there, half a block, and get a bike and ride around?
Yes, you can.
Do you have scooter? Will there be scooters?
That's something that the city frowned upon. We all know the story behind them. People, I'm not going to call names, but people bringing scooters in, and they were in canals and this and that.
Oh.
They really didn't take very good care of them.
I didn't know we had them.
Yeah, we did. We had them for a few months.
Yeah. I went to San Francisco and rode a scooter. Now, people, when you're 65, I don't think the scooters are the thing, because if we fall, we're breaking the hip. But I did. I scooted around. It was fun. In San Francisco, there's all these cars. There's no drivers.
There's no drivers.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, they are there.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it yet.
The EVs are here, and I would actually drive.
Yes, you would. Nice. Yes, you would. So, but an amazing way, number one, to make sure the air is clean, because we have terrible air quality, like I said. But number two, the mindset change that Fresno needs to be awesome.
Free people
That's
up who've never had that kind of freedom to have a car. Like I said, I have a car, but I'm afraid to drive it to the coast because it break down. So yeah, for that special trip.
So you should go to the coast.
Okay, I'm going to the coast. So.
And you take Cowboy with you.
I tell you, we say we celebrate what's good about Fresno. We want to tell people things they may not know are going on. Here's some I had no idea is going on. I'm so glad you came.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah. And I kind of want to switch hats a little bit because it is time to vote, right?
Election time. Yeah, I got my ballot today in the mail.
Did you get? I haven't gotten mine yet, so I'm going to look since you got yours
First
today.
thing I'm opening to see if Keisha Thomas is on
I am not yet. I have 2 more years. But I just want to talk about Measure H and some of the other measures for schools for a moment. Our schools have been around for a very long time.
Yes.
And Measure H for Fresno Unified, and the colleges have one as well. And we really need to support our college students, which we didn't the last time. We did support Fresno Unified, and we need to continue to do that because our kids are really in buildings that need to be revitalized.
That's Measure H is Fresno Unified?
Yes, that is Fresno Unified.
Right.
Measure H, and it's not a political thing. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that we focus this money on the most disadvantaged schools.
It's mostly infrastructure.
It's mostly infrastructure.
Okay, let me make a pitch.
Okay.
Because I'm a Republican. Republicans don't like taxes, but this isn't a tax. This is the kids, my kids' kids will be paying for this, but their kids will be the ones in the schools.
That's right.
We're building for the future. And by the way, it's cheaper to build now than to wait 20 years when we save the money and build.
Well, before they fall apart.
Yeah, these bond measures make a lot of sense. They're not taxes.
Right.
And that's why I vote for them.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I think that kids deserve it.
Can I tell you one more thing? I would not have known that we're having a bond measure if Keisha Thomas didn't come here and tell us about it. I don't pay attention, so thank you. Look how much good you're doing.
Yeah, prayerfully, we're gonna. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow is the board meeting. So if people are interested, sign on to FresnoUnified.com and watch us on the web live, because it's really going to talk about like what our focus is for this bond measure. And I think that instead of listening to the chatter in the community, that you need to hear first from us why we're doing this and why it's important, because you're going to get some negative feedback from anything you do, and there's always one person that's not happy. Yeah. So but for the most part, I think we've all had discussions about the bond measure, and all of the trustees, with the exception of maybe one, are in complete support.
Yeah, and we said this last time, but we always know what the city council's doing. Every step they take. The school district is a bigger budget than the city, so tune in and watch. How do we tune in and watch?
And honestly, I think we're the most important. We have your babies' lives in our hands, and I think that people shouldn't come just when they're angry. Come all the time, so we always know what's going on in our community and with our kids.
I'm angry all the time, so how do we watch that, by the way?
Go to FresnoUnified.org and go to the web live. And you can watch it. You can watch it live tomorrow.
They used to have things on the cable channel. I never have the cable channel. So, Fresno Unified, FUSD.org.
No, FresnoUnified.org.
FresnoUnified.
And you know what? I take that back. You have to watch it Thursday because right now we're having. We were not ADA compliant at the board office, so we're having some work done over at the board office, and we're doing the meetings over at the Nutrition Center on Brawley. So either come on down and hang out with us, or check us out on Thursday.
I'm sorry we don't have more time. Any last thoughts? Any last thing you want to get in before?
No, I just want to say thank you for always having me, and it's always a pleasure, even though you're a Republican.
I know. I'm one of the good ones, so.
Yes, you are. It's always a pleasure just sitting and talking to you and just fighting the good fight.
I'm amazed at how much you do. And I know it's not just you, but thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And for our viewers, stick around. We'll have another guest right after this. Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show. We've been talking to authors today from England, United Kingdom, from Wales, and from Scotland, all in one day. I think they're all on the same island. They share the same island. It's a weird coincidence we had all of them the same day. Are you trying to pick the next book you're going to read? Because I've got one for you right here, Silken Waters. It came out recently from an author we've had on several times. By the way, not only do I have the book here, I also have the author, if I can find her. There she is. Welcome, Leslie Lee, author. She's local, a live guest in our studio. This is very fun. A local author. Tell us about the book, a little bit about this book.
Yeah, so Silken Waters is a sequel. It is part 2 in a hopefully trilogy. Takes place in the fictional world known as the Veil, which kind of exists alongside our world. You can go back and forth between the human world.
Here's your last book. Wasn't it also set there?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be Child of Dawn would be the first book in the series. We're calling the series Legend of the Veil.
Okay, Legend of the Veil. Now, so this one is your newer one. Do we have to read them in order?
You don't have to. It is helpful, but you can pick up Silken Waters, and there's enough information regarding the things that happened in the first book for you to be able to read the second one by itself.
Now, let me ask you about this, because it's amazing that people can do this. It's a fantasy,
yes,
and it's written in a realm that doesn't really exist.
Yes.
And you've got to keep track of all this stuff when
Yes.
you're writing.
Yes. And that for this book in particular was a challenge, because I had to constantly go back and make sure I wasn't changing the history or the facts from the first book, making sure I had the characters right, did what I think happened. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and creating the whole, I guess, existence of the characters as well is quite
Developing
a
their
challenge.
characters.
Yes, exactly, because they're not real.
Regarding your process, do you use any spreadsheets or anything to track all this stuff? Or?
So yeah, so this one, my office is in my closet, and so
Literally in the closet.
Literally in the closet, yes. And so there are pictures everywhere with the names of the characters and a couple of characteristics listed. There is kind of like the brief history of the Veil printed out. There's a map, which I wasn't planning on having to do, but because this involves sailing and pirate ships in the ocean and what I kind of realized that I needed to know where my people were going.
Any dragons?
Not yet.
Not yet. Who
But
knows?
stay tuned for
Yeah.
book 3.
Now, yeah, and I guess you rely a lot on your memory.
Yeah. Which the older you get, the more challenging.
I was going to say, wait till you get my age.
That is.
See if you can count on that. So, you want to start a little bit from the beginning? Child of Dawn?
Yeah, so Child of Dawn, again, it takes place in the Veil, and the Veil is a world that is ruled in part by a race of vampire and in part a race of elves. And as you might guess, they don't like each other. They're very different types of creatures.
Well, vampires and elves, of course. They wouldn't get
Exactly.
along.
So one loves the light, one loves the dark. And so they have been at war for a millennia. And their warring is causing the Veil to physically die.
Okay.
And so in the first book, the two main characters they set off on a quest to save the Veil, to complete a series of tasks in order to put everybody at peace. And at the end of Child of Dawn, there is a temporary truce that happens, and that's where Silken Waters picks up. In the second book, you have a faction of vampire pirates who come back to port to find that they're no longer permitted by law on both sides, both the vampire and elf side, to be pirates, basically. And so they are kind of faced with this crisis. The pirates that's all they've done. They were raised from boys to be pirates, and so what do they do?
That's all they know.
It's all they know.
Yeah.
And so the second book is kind of about, what do you do when you're faced with being denied your identity, and kind of the series of events that goes along with their quest.